aboard on a Tuesday. OverDrive all set to sail. Jim Taddy, Keegan Matheson from MLB.com, and El's brother Mike DeStefano with you, guiding you to the Jays against the Cubs tonight at the Ball Yard. Cubs are 5-5 their last 10, and firmly entrenched as the number one wild card team. Milwaukee, in their own division, absolutely unconscious, on a roll, 10 straight. I mean, this is a team. So we'll get into the matchup. Barrios and Brown tonight for the game at the Ball Yard. And, of course, plenty of other things to talk about. Shapiro spoke today, so we'll get into that. But let me start off with a grand question. Before we dive into the pitching matchup, what would you define success for this Blue Jay team this year? What's a winner?
Ooh, a successful season. I never want to lean on the classic, you got to win the World Series or else only one team succeeds and you succeed every 30 years. That's a miserable life. Yeah. I think winning a round of the postseason, and by a round, I mean the ALDS. We consider the 15 and 16 Blue Jays successes. Yeah. They didn't make it to the World Series. They went deep into the CS. And the way you do it matters. This team has been a success so far. If they make it to the postseason and flop again, it's a complete mess. Getting there doesn't matter at this point. You have to go a bit further. And you need to have a moment. We are talking about what could be the end of Bo Bichette's era in Toronto. We're talking about Vladdy moving from his original deal onto his big boy deal. They've won 0 playoff games in their 3 trips. They haven't done it. They need to win at least a series. It can't be just the wild card series. At 2 out of 3, that's a half point. I want to see them win the ALDS at the very least. And they've got to aim high. This is all about what we talked about yesterday with that mental shift in this city of not being happy to be involved. You know, being a wild card team, it means you're in the top half of baseball. Great, but it doesn't get me going. We're talking about being the very best, one of the 3-4 best teams in baseball, elite baseball teams. They've got to win at least a real series. They need to.
I guess the next question is, and this is a conversation that I think is going to start to kind of pop up because today we heard from Mark Shapiro, and his contract's up at the end of the year. Ross Atkins' contract up at the end of the year. It's not just Bo Bichette, 2 pillars of this organization who's been around for a long time. And I guess if they don't have that success, if they don't win a round, what does that mean for the future of those guys? And we were trying to have that conversation of what it could mean for the Blue Jays. And I feel as though the season that they've had, and for years they were patient, the organization stuck with them and believed in the process, and we're seeing the fruits of the labor finally come through. I have a hard time believing that they would just completely blow this thing up if they don't win just one round.
Yeah, that would be a real sticky point. And I've been in so many of those year-end press conferences wondering, is this the last time I'm going to talk to this guy? Is this the last time I'm going to see them? And that's not an individual commentary on them. It's just how sports work. Right. If you don't win, poof, you're gone. And the Blue Jays have not won when it matters most. They've won 90-plus games. They've done good things. They've signed and traded for good players. But that only matters if you win in the postseason. It only matters if you win in October. That's what we need to see. Now, that being said, if they do flop in the playoffs, and I know that's doomsday, what if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? We'll see. But if it all does go wrong, I think that we've seen enough this year still that there's a different direction. Last year when I was sitting in that room, I was saying, man, we are 10 miles down the same road. Yeah. And I'm sick of being on this road. I think a lot of people sitting at home are sick of being down that road. There's bad restaurants and no gas stations on it. It's a mess. And they kept going down it with the same strategy. This year, I think we're going in a different direction in terms of how we talk about baseball in this city. And it's a more encouraging one. Whether it works this year, we'll see. But I think you also need to acknowledge and recognize, okay, they've changed something. That's step one. It's got to work, but they've changed something.
Well, what's changed?
The approach, and I think that starts with coaching in the front office. They are not trying to make every player be the same player. They're letting Vladdy be Vladdy, Bo be Bo, George be George. That one's worked. Absolutely has worked. And I think we're seeing a team where every single level of this team is in sync. The front office is working with the coaching staff right. The coaching staff is working with the players the right way. Last year, some of those might have been an inch or two off. And it's tough. When you're an inch off, you're all the way off. We're finally seeing, someone might call that synergy, guys. If I was really leaning into the way that these folks speak, some might call that synergy between departments, baby. But it is working and it's happening. It's different.
Well, I think that we're all looking for. I think we're comfortable with where they are and how
Yeah.
they get to the end of the regular season. Looking for something to legitimize what we're happy about, so that if it doesn't work out and it doesn't go deep this year, there's a thought that it could next year. We want this to be the start of something, don't we?
The start of something. Bingo. That's exactly it. This needs to be the start of whatever era this is in Blue Jays baseball. They're spending big money. And frankly, guys, when the Blue Jays go out and acquire a big pitcher, make a big trade, they typically hit. That's been the strange thing about covering this team the last few years, is I can't point to something and say, hey, you know what? It was all going well, but they traded for that guy and it screwed the whole thing up. They don't have that albatross contract. They don't have that mess of a contract. It looked like it might be George Springer.
Yeah, that was the one. And this year, it's kind of, I mean, Barrios hasn't pitched as well this year, so maybe the back half of that contract, if he continues to pitch this way, could be a question mark. But the real big misses for this front office has been the drafting and developing.
Yeah.
And more so the developing turn. Like, how many prospects have we gotten excited about, and they've just turned into nothing? Like Nate Pearson is one. And even right now, like you look at Ricky Tiedemann 2 years ago, it's like this guy's going to be a big part of this rotation in 2 years. Well, that has not been the case. An injury plays a role in a lot of this, but also just the fact that they haven't developed properly. That to me has been the biggest difference from the previous years to what's happening now this year. Everybody who came in through the system, who's been developed, is having success. Whether that's Joey Loperfido. I know he hasn't been here long, but like he was in AAA last year working with those skills coaches. He was here through spring training working with the skills coaches. Same thing. Addison Barger's been through this organization now. Like you've got some guys who are coming up and really starting to show the fruits of the labor of that development. And to me, that's where I look and I'm like, okay, they've hit on a lot of right things. And that's one thing that in the past has not been there that seems to be shining through.
So, Jays against the Cubs tonight. Later on, 4:30, Chris Colabello, the former Jay, will stop by. Ryan Dempster, former MLB star, at 5:05. 5:30, AB's list, power list. 6:05, confirm or deny. Then at 6:30, NFL talk with Mike Sando. So let's talk about Mr. Shapiro, who spoke today. We've got a series of clips, audio only. So if you're watching on TSN4, sorry, but nonetheless, you'll hear it. So here's Shapiro on the competitive window going forward.
Well, certainly having Vladdy under contract, addresses one of the biggest challenges that, to that window, the establishment of some other young players that have stepped up and contributed meaningfully. But that is always a challenge, particularly in a division as tough as ours. And I think particularly from a pitching standpoint, we need to continue to develop pitchers and ensure that they're continue to come and contribute up here. So a lot of young players have made major strides this year, not just here, but throughout our system. That's going to continue to be necessary and important.
And really, that's what propels this story forward, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the other thing. I look at four things you need. It's the players, the coaches, the front office, and player development. You take one of those legs away, the table falls over. And player development has been that at times in the past couple of years. Players have been that at times. And certain elements of coaching have been that at times. It's never going to be perfect in one sense. But that's when you see magic come together. The Milwaukee Brewers are a great example of this. They're pretty much a model MLB organization.
Yeah.
If I could build an MLB org, I'd want to be the Brewers with unlimited money. It's just it's a perfect setup.
The Brewers with Steinbrenner checkbooks.
There we go. Life in Milwaukee, I love it. But that's what you're going for. All four of those lining up at the exact same time, speaking the same language, going about things the same way. And I think that's really been the important part, because as players are arriving, they're not just players, they're Blue Jays players. They're trying to play this exact style of baseball instead of trying to either glue a bunch of individuals together or make them all play the same way. Hey, everyone hit singles. Addison Barger, go hit singles. No. I mean, my goodness, Addison Barger can bench me. Do not ask that man to hit singles. You let him go out and rip it. That's what he's done. He's been empowered to do that. We're seeing empowered baseball players.
Yeah, he's one of the big wild cards for me moving forward.
time.
Like, what can what's his ceiling? What can he be?
It's
Because
adjustment time.
he had a massive season in AAA, two years ago, I want to say. Kate really broke out with the power. The home runs were there. And then last year struggled mightily. Didn't make the team out of camp this year, but then got a call up early in the season, and he hasn't looked back. He has been swinging the stick as good as anyone on that Blue Jays team, and he has been extremely, extremely valuable to this offense to a point where now it's like, this guy's a real piece moving forward. Like, and that wasn't a guy 3 months ago, 5 months ago, we'll say, at the start of the season, that you thought, man, we're going to be talking about him playing ball in August, September, October? Like, that's the one guy, a wild card, where I look at and I'm like, okay, you got to find those diamond in the rough sometimes. And it seems like Barger has emerged into that, and that's a big reason why the Blue Jays are having the kind of year that they're having. They're having
like
that guy.
It changes everything.
Yeah.
That's something we don't talk enough about with the Dodgers, is they draft, develop, and make their own stars.
Yes.
Yeah, they go out and buy the guys for hundreds of millions of dollars, but they always fill in those extra spots. And the exciting thing, what that allows you to do, even when I look at Braden Fisher, Mason Fluharty, developing and finding Braden Fisher doesn't just give you some real good bullpen relief right now. It saves you $5 million next year, $5 million the next, $5 million the next, because you're not going out and trying to find Chad Green or someone else. When you develop an Addison Barger, maybe that saves you $20 million next year. Suddenly you're throwing that at a big pitcher, not just a mid-range pitcher, but an ace. It changes everything financially. And Barger, as the wild card, completely agree, because he was the darling of camp a couple of seasons ago. And every spring has its darling. This year it was Alan Roden. A couple of years ago, Addison Barger. Sometimes that's a kiss of death. Sometimes a signal of what's to come. And Addison Barger, when you look at him, of course, this guy's going to hit the ball 500 miles. He can throw it harder than anyone, even most of the pitchers. He can hit it harder than anyone, maybe even including Vladdy. He can run fast, do everything so well. But for years, guys, I was kind of slow on Barger. I was saying this is a league full of 20-year-olds who are breaking out. If this guy has all these gifts and now he's 24 or 25, why isn't it happening for Barger? But he finally had that mental shift. And for some guys, a mental shift is unlocking their mechanics, something very complicated. I remember asking Barger about this earlier in the year, and I think Boston. And it was two questions that really helped me kind of garner how he approaches this. And I asked him, what have you done? What have you changed? And he looked at me and he said, I've chilled out. in the least chill way you can imagine. But I said, okay, very good. And then later I asked him the question about, you've got a big Yankees series coming up. And he made it through the first sentence. You could tell he was kind of trying to tiptoe around me. And he said, to be honest, I didn't know we were playing the Yankees tomorrow until right now. So for some players, it's about complicating things. For others, Mark Shapiro always uses the Manny Ramirez example of just the simpler the better. Sometimes you're out, sometimes you're safe. Simpler the better. Barger has found that big wild card.
Well, you let us know when he's going to press you, because that's going to be a viral moment.
It will be. It will be. You know what? That's what it's all about these days anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's Mr. Shapiro again on the Blue Jays' growth from last year.
We've just established our brand of baseball, you know, that it is rooted and founded in the toughness and the cohesiveness of our players. That has translated into the types of at-bats that we're having, you know, against good pitching, against all types of pitching. Tough to strike out, playing good defense, which has been a trademark over the last few years, not just this year, really putting the pressure on the other team. So we've got great players, but our results have not been driven by individual players. It's really been driven by collective effort.
So well, the clip I like there, the phrase, our brand of baseball. And clearly with the game on the line, somebody's going to do something, doesn't matter who it is.
That's the whole thing now, and it's working. And you need a good clubhouse. You need a good coaching staff, frankly. And that's not just John Schneider. Don Mattingly's part of that now in a different way. DeMarlo Hale's a great part of that. I don't think DeMarlo Hale gets enough credit, but, I mean, one of the most likable guys in Major League Baseball. The players listen and respect everything he does and says. So getting the buy-in for that, hey, you might not play 7 games this week. You might only play in 4 of them. But in the other 2, you're going to come off the bench in a big spot that we designed just for you. And when a player trusts that they're going to be put in that spot every time, that's another form of empowerment. And I've learned to look at the coach-player relationship and the front office-to-coach relationship more in terms of that. Do I trust that that guy is really having my best interests in mind? Because the moment you think they don't, everything is toast. But I think these Jays players really believe that now, from Schneider, from David Popkins, who we've talked about, and I can't talk about enough. But they really do believe that they are putting them in the best spots, even if it means they start the night on the bench. They're probably going to come in, if you're Davis Schneider against a lefty, if you're Ernie in a defensive spot, in the right spot for them. And that's a really momentum-building feeling for a baseball team.
Let me just add some stuff that's just sort of breaking. George Springer is at the Rogers Center with the Jays, taking batting practice, running fielding as well. Club is hopeful he'll be cleared from a concussion protocol in the coming days. will go out on rehab once cleared, likely multiple games. Manoah will start for the Bisons on Wednesday, aiming for 70 to 75 pitches. Bieber will start for Buffalo on Friday, 80 to 85 pitches is what they're looking at there. And Buddy Kennedy is designated for assignment to open a roster spot. They've activated Jimenez as well. He'll play second base, bat ninth against the Cubs tonight.
All right.
No shortage.
No.
So, Buddy Kennedy, or do we start with what?
Go ahead.
When we start with looking at the Bieber news is what I pick out of that immediately. Looking at the Friday timeline, because this is so important to how we map out the next couple of weeks with the Blue Jays. And if he is starting on Friday here, and we do some kind of back of the napkin math, that probably puts him in line, maybe with that opener, Miami.
Yeah, mid next week
at Miami Marlins, which would be on a full week of rest
against not so great
a team that is not the Dodgers.
Yeah, soft start.
Yeah,
but Bieber has looked fantastic, and that would line him up for a start against the mighty Brewers. Perfect timing. The end of the month, that last series, a big weekend series against what is now the best team in baseball. Everything's gone really well with Shane Bieber, and when they acquired him, I thought it might be one less start than we're seeing in the minor leagues. I thought it might have been pushed a little quicker, but that's the luxury of having the rotation the Blue Jays have. Yeah, Bieber's good, but the difference between Bieber and Barrios or Lauer is what? Maybe nothing.
Yeah,
for one
like
start.
if they're fighting for a wild card spot, maybe they only give them 2 looks instead of 3 in Buffalo.
So it's been a good build-up for him. So that puts him on track. That home debut end of the month, I was thinking about this yesterday, guys, the David Price debut in 15. I think that was August 3 against the Twins when he made that debut. That was an amazing game. One of the coolest regular season games we've seen in this city ever. And I don't think we've had one like that in a long time. There hasn't been that big boom midseason edition of that level. And I don't think Shane Bieber gets the level of buzz he deserves as a name. It might not be the flashiest name, but my God, trust me, this is one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. And that is one that if you've got the option to be at, will be a special one.
What else do we want to do here? Shapiro, one more clip. So, and I like things in layers, and that's what the Jays have. That's why I really like this story, because there's just like one after the other, and it all works out. So if one falters, there's another layer. And the ultimate layer is Trey Savage. Here's Shapiro on the possibility of promoting Trey.
I think all decisions are a nature of the circumstance and the situation, and that's just one more, much like decisions at a trade deadline are different from one to the next. That type of decision is as well, but never at the risk of harming a player. So those things will be factored in as well, in every decision made.
And this is a big, strong kid.
Well, what did that sound like to you? I don't know if that sounded like they're banking on you, Savage, being part of talking about being worried about his development more so and in this future than it is for him factoring in this year. That's kind of how I took from that.
Yeah,
what I took from that
conversation. Lots of doors being left cracked open, and it's always hard to read through the language. I'm going to start adopting some of this language at home. Have I done the laundry?
Saying
have I done the dishes?
Saying anything definitive?
I wish you well, buddy.
Are a circumstance of situation. Who's to say? But what I hear her as well is Mark Shapiro, who came up with a background in player development.
Yeah.
And player development is, I can tell, a real passion of Mark Shapiro's. Like when you get him going, he typically loves to leave most of the baseball stuff to Ross Atkins and that side of the front office, which I respect. But when you really get Mark Shapiro going about player development, you can see that baseball guy in there. And I love seeing that. And when we spoke to Ross Atkins about this, last time we spoke to Ross, about a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago, the comment at the time was that you couldn't close the door on an incredible talent like that. And I think that's going to be the approach they take. The Blue Jays player development staff, their whole idea this year was, listen, we're going to give them the option. We're going to put Trey Savage on the doorstep with a big bow in his head and say, he's right here if you want it. Be tempted. And we talked about this yesterday, guys, with that question of, is he one of your 13 best pitchers? I think he is. Compare him to the last guy in the bullpen. I think he is.
His last 3 starts in AAA, pitched 13 innings, 23 strikeouts, and had a .69 FIP. Sub-1 FIP. And you could speak to how incredible that statistic is.
Just outstanding. And you see this delivery again that I just love. But Savage, what he brings is the potential of legitimate dominance. And I say that, maybe I'll compare him, guys, to Alek Manoah. When Manoah came up as a starter, Manoah had dominant numbers, but that was a little bit more about working around the zone, doing quote-unquote true pitching, getting some weak contacts, some more sinker balling, mid-90s. Trey Savage can just make you look stupid, and he can do it over and over and over again. That does not mean he is going to be Pedro Martinez. This is not a projection of superstardom or Hall of Fame futures, but it means that the top end of his skill set is pretty far above anyone we've seen come along here in Toronto in a while. He's going to need to develop the mid end of that and be consistent, but his strikeout ability with 15 strikeouts per 9 innings in the minor leagues this year,
impressive.
That means, and listen, I have an English degree, the math may be off, I think you're striking out over half the batters that you recorded out on. Yeah. That is unbelievable talent. AAA will be a challenge. I want to see how he does there. He's going to start Thursday with the Bisons, I believe. But if he nails his first couple of steps there, what else are you waiting for? And for a young pitcher like this, we've seen it with Manoah, with Pearson, with Tiedemann, with so many others. When you think they're good enough, cash in while you can. Man, some of these guys are going to pitch for 15 years, but pitchers don't last forever.
Think of the Bisons. Wednesday night is, who did we have there? It was Manoah. Friday is Bieber, and Thursday is Savage.
Big weekend. I love that stuff. For my friends in minor league baseball, I know how much that means to getting a few tickets sold, so those are a good time to live in Buffalo.
Okay, just looking at some more information here. But by the way, what Shapiro said made sense. I mean, that's a political answer. We're just gonna let that happen.
Absolutely.
What else would you say? You don't want to put.
This is what a president or a GM need to say. We're going to leave the door open, see if he can force our hand at this point, because you do not want to say, "Hey, we've got our eyes on him," and then if he gives up 6 runs next time, are you killing the guy's confidence? Trey Savage still so young at this point. This is his first pro season.
To go from low A up to triple A in 1 year is up. To go to low A to the Major League Baseball up to the majors is nearly unprecedented.
And an example of a plan that the Jays and Savage himself have just nailed. Like when they started him in single A, they got some heat for that. Because why is this guy who's way too good for single A down here dominating 18-year-olds? Legitimate question. But there's rain in Vancouver. You don't want to screw up his routines. And it took Trey Savage buying into that. He could have been cocky and said, what's a routine? I'm better than all these children. Get me out of here. And listen, I spent a lot of time in Dunedin, Florida. God bless it. But a few weeks of it, you've had enough. Yeah. But he was mature about it. He's nailed every single part of this. I've been so impressed by that.
So the ultimate question when Mark Shapiro speaks at this time of the year with the contract expiring is, will he be around? And his line was he wants to remain with the team, and we would assume he would. What prevents that from happening?
A bigger fish, a bigger game to hunt. You know, you never know what's out there. There are not many bigger jobs than being the president of the biggest show in a country like this. But, you know, Mark Shapiro, we've heard a similar answer from him over the years, and he has always, almost across the board, refused to comment on his own job status and often doesn't do it for others as well. And if that's your rule and you stick to it, I respect that. But it's a situation where I think it makes sense for all sides to continue with this. I don't tie Shapiro to much of the baseball successes or failures. I tie him to the business side, payroll, renovations, the money that's been put into the spring complex, which I think is all very impressive. And I see no reason for that relationship to end unless there is something more attractive out there, which would be more on
it's on Shapiro.
I believe it would be on that.
The Jays wouldn't want to separate themselves from, which I don't believe either. I mean, there's still unfinished business, like you mentioned, from the baseball operations part of things. Like, they're still going to do stuff with the dome, and like I'm not quite sure why the discourse around whether or not he does not return next year is well, really
because he's expiring. I mean, why wouldn't you look after that a year ago?
And it could be something where it was signed 2 months ago.
Well, you want to make sure that the season went well. If the season did not go well, you don't want to lock into that. But the season's gone great.
So that goes back to the original question. What is a disaster and what is a plus?
Yeah.
I feel like the season has gone well enough where even if they lose in the playoffs, they took significant steps to moving forward as a franchise, where they both, him and Atkins, should receive an extension and keep moving forward with what's going on in Toronto.
Yeah, as long as there's not a complete disaster on the way out, I would agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Be interesting with
I have
Shapiro.
faith.
we'll see.
I have faith.
We'll see. MLB announced its playoff slate on Tuesday with wildcard matchups beginning September 30th. World Series set to start October 24th. All 4 division series will start October 4th. Game 1 of the ALCS goes October 12th. So there's a lot of dates there. September 30th, October 24th, October 4th, October 12th. Day before the start of the NLCS. So everybody's written it down. Good, we're good.
There we go. I got to start booking hotels.
That's right.
Damn it,
So that's
this
why I
time
said
of
that.
year.
Yeah.
It got me nervous.
And you're going to max it all out.
I remember a couple of years ago, this was 2023. I believe that's right when the Blue Jays brought it up the last day of the season. We were multiple hotels booked, lots of things up in the air.
Oh, and they finish half a game out that year.
Oh,
Cancel.
hit the cancel
Off.
button. That's right.
Off.
Coming up next, more baseball chat with Chris Colabello, the former Jay. That's next on OverDrive, TSN 4, live on YouTube, TSN 1050.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Just keep it safe with me. Anything you say will always stay.
Welcome back to Overdrive. Jim Taddy and Keegan Matheson from MLB.com. El's brother Mike DiStefano with you, getting you set for the Jays against the Cubs at the Ball Yard tonight. Kevin Gosman with the ultimate X delivery today. So apparently there's no such thing as free parking in Toronto. Was there ever? Was there ever?
Guy, you've lived here for 3 years now. You don't. This is the first parking ticket he's gotten. Welcome to Toronto, I guess.
I don't recall. I mean,
Ever
working
being-
in this town for 41 years. I don't remember ever being free parking.
Gauze
No.
can eat it. He can eat the ticket.
Well,
One of
yeah,
them.
I'm sure he's okay.
Yeah.
He'll be okay with that one. I'm just like, the guy's lived here for 3 years. He's just figuring that out today.
Yeah. Well, all he had to do was ask, right?
I love the odd forays of Gosman onto Twitter, though. Was it last week he had the "Can anyone help me find a flamethrower?" The June 28th tweet.
Pardon me.
He was looking for a flamethrower.
A flamethrower.
I was standing in the
Put that on
clubhouse
Twitter?
in Fenway Park that day,
Surprised
looking for a
Elon didn't
flamethrower.
mess with
Anyone in
himself.
Toronto know anyone? I was standing in the clubhouse after a Blue Jays win. He comes up and taps me on the shoulder. "Kiggs, you know where I can get a flamethrower?" And I was honored that I look like a guy who knows how to do that.
Yeah.
And admittedly, I probably do. But I said, "Kevin, before I give you advice here, I've got to tell you this is a bad idea. I can't be roped up in this scandal." But he's one of the best personalities on the
Did he
team.
explain what he needed the flamethrower for?
It was for celebratory purposes in the clubhouse after a big win. They already have a nightclub in there. You wouldn't believe it. But, yeah, it was to aid the celebration.
I don't know if he should
Wow.
be using a flamethrower indoors.
An indoor, like that's like the fireworks at the hockey rinks. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
I suggest you just the weed burner. You get out for outside, get a foot of flame out there. The old, bottle of Axe body spray with a lighter.
Yeah, that works.
It
And go
wasn't
quick and
the
dirty.
Once
That
Upon a
works.
Time in Hollywood flamethrower.
I think that's more what he had in mind. He had full length of the clubhouse in mind. So I said,
Yeah.
"Kevin, I can't be involved."
No, absolutely not.
Happy to be considered, though.
Torch. You should have said, go to Canadian Tire. It won't be free, but there's a torch there.
Well, they
waiting
got
for you.
kind of those things. Like I used it this weekend. A buddy of mine, I was up at a cottage, and for the fire, he had like this, I don't know, torch thing, kind of like a mini flamethrower, and you just light it, and then
Propane.
boom, yeah, low propane
Yeah.
thing, and it worked out great.
I don't think the celebrations need that.
No.
An MLB clubhouse celebration is a wild enough place.
Oh.
The moment I walk in there, I feel like I'm about to be offered like a $700 bottle of vodka or something. It's got a real nightclub feel. I get nervous.
Yeah, you got to wear the rubber clothes.
Yeah.
when it's wild.
The goggles.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the goggles. I'll be
Well,
honest. I don't
you're
know why
wearing
you got to put the
contacts, you would.
goggles on.
That's true. I learned a long time ago. Richard Griffin, who we had on yesterday, he told me a long time ago that in any champagne celebration after a big win, postseason, anything like that, he says no to the poncho. He goes in, let it hit you.
Yes.
Experience.
Yeah.
So I've
Soak it
taken
up.
Griff's lead on that. I let it ruin my clothes. I've had trouble getting
Attaboy,
taxis
Keith.
after that on the road before. Because when you get in and you smell like you just swam in beer, you are told, "Get out of my taxi." So it's taken me a few swings in a
Yeah.
couple road cities. So I've learned to take a change.
Oh, that's funny.
So Jays against the Cubs tonight. Barrios 8-4 against Brown. What is he? 5-7. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, Ben Brown is not pitching very well. I was looking into it today. You go over on FanDuel, I'm betting a lot of overs for Toronto. I think they get back on track offensively tonight against Ben Brown. Hasn't been pitching very well. Gives up a lot to lefties in particular. I think Barger gives a lot to lefties in particular. I think Barger and Loper Fido are two guys I like tonight. Kind of get some offense rolling. I think we see a lot of offense tonight from the Blue Jays. Get back to not quite Rocky level, but certainly more than what we saw in LA.
thing you got to like about baseball is nobody's crying about the first game back after a road trip to the West, which is a hockey sort of crutch.
Yeah,
Really,
they fly
but-
pretty
They'll be
nice.
off day.
You know, they don't like to tell you this, but they're not back in coach with me. I think they're well taken care of.
Just waiting on Chris Colabello, former Jays player, of course, from the glory years, Pelotero co-founder, diving into the series against the Cubs and also Texas, two-series homestand this week, and it'll be interesting to sort of reminisce about what happened back in the day, which is, 10 years ago now?
Yeah, the big one. And they've got some energy again this year. You know, that rivalry never quite went away. Even when Rougned Odor played for the Orioles, he was getting booed, even when he should have been getting DFA'd. Booing a guy kind of loses its zest when he's terrible. You know, you want it to be a villain from another team that's actually doing something, not a guy that's hitting 101. But he ate it for a few years. That one's always going to be there. But the Rangers have got some juice.
You sock Jose Batista.
Hey,
you're going to get booed every time you set foot in Toronto.
Even if you're already
100%.
terrible. The Rangers have Rowdy Tellez going right now. They're making some magic down there. Rowdy Tellez has found another home, and he is another fan base's favorite once again.
All right, let's bring in Chris now. Chris Colabello, former Jay outfielder, first baseman, Pelotero co-founder. Chris, welcome aboard. So you're in mid-August, just about. You're in first place, 43 games in 49 days. How does that feel to be in that situation?
Pretty good. I wouldn't be too worried about the West Coast trips. You get a cushy day off. It's easy. It's not that hard. So don't worry about that. They'll be fine. They're in good shape.
Keegan was telling us a moment ago that there is quite the celebrations happening in the clubhouse right now, post games. Apparently, Kevin Gausman was trying to get a flamethrower last week for some reason. Like, can you think of any time where things got a little rowdy in the Jays clubhouse in your days here?
I can think of plenty of times when that happened. We had Munenori Kawasaki on the team. We had Mark Burley on the team. We had Josh Tully on the team. There were some interesting post-game things that happened, a lot of which I probably can't talk about on the air. So
that's an important part. There is a 10-minute window before media like me are allowed to go in. Yeah. And the moment I get in, I always feel like there's being something swept up. That's the real fun part. But Chris, when we look back to those days, we're just talking about the Shane Bieber edition here in Toronto. He'll be having his first start in Toronto coming up in a couple of weeks. You were there for that big David Price debut back in 2015 and some of those big additions. What was it like adding superstar talent to a team that was really getting some momentum? What do you remember about that feeling in the city that we could be seeing here again pretty soon?
It was awesome. I mean, it was electric. Osuna and I were doing an autograph signing in the morning at the mall, and him and I took a Uber, got a car service back to the stadium, and people had been asking us all morning if we thought we were going to get Price. I'm like, that's above my pay grade, man. I don't make those decisions. And then we walked in and we saw him clear in the locker. And I think it was a little bit different, right? We were trending in the right direction. We had made some trades already, and we were behind. We were 7 games back in the division at the time. And I think we all saw greener pastures ahead. And getting him was such a magical moment. Like the city responded so well, and I'll never forget his first start. And Kevin Durant was at the game wearing a David Price jersey.
That's
and
right.
The stadium was packed, and we actually ended up seeing KD at everybody went to the OVO Drake concert after, and I'm standing next to Kevin Durant, and I was thinking to myself, am I cool enough to be standing next to him right now? That's how you knew. Like, that was such a telling moment to me about how real it was. Right? We were good, and we knew it. And I think it sparked us in a way that, I'm not going to sit here and say we couldn't have done it without him, but it certainly created a different energy in the clubhouse and a different buzz in the city. That's for sure.
I like what you said there. You obviously you were thinking positive anyway, but this adds to it. In this case, to have Scherzer already on staff and a guy like Bieber walk in the door, I mean, that's like having this human resource that also delivers as a player. But I mean, it's great conversations with these guys too, right?
Yeah, the veteran presence that you talk about, the clubhouse presence, stuff's real, and I think every guy from our team that you probably talked to has alluded to it in some way, shape, or form. And you really want guys that are just good clubhouse guys that want to help everybody around them get better. And I did an interview a couple weeks ago, and somebody asked me about how the young guys maintain what they're doing. And I said, it's the onus is on the older guys to just remind them to just keep playing, guys. Like, just play. Don't worry about your numbers. Don't worry about what the end of the year looks like, because if we just focus on the moment, special stuff's going to happen. And then you get to go play in that tournament in October, which it's magical, right? Like, it's the thing you sit there and dream about when you're a kid. And there's nothing like it. I didn't play in the postseason anywhere else, but I can't imagine it feeling like it did in Toronto, right? Kansas City was grimy and tricky, just because it's, I don't know, it's fall in the Midwest and you feel the sunset, and it's like, it's like haunted houses type feelings. And the crowd got loud, but there's nothing like Rogers Center shaking. that place is special.
Well, one of the young guys that, you talk about that has continued to hit throughout the season is Addison Barger. And we were talking about what his ceiling could possibly be as a wild card, stud right in the middle of this order for years to come. I mean, you've watched a lot of Blue Jays baseball this year. Like, what have you made of the season that Barger's had, and what do you make of the way that he can hit the baseball?
I lost about half of that. I hope you guys can still hear me, but I think we were talking about Barger and how good he can be.
Yeah.
He's done a really nice job. He's been awesome. And I think in order for a team to be really good, right, in order for any team to be really good, you need the veterans to play the way they're supposed to, the guys that you have expectations out of, and you need some surprises, right? I.e., this guy is sitting over my shoulder on that side. He was a surprise to everyone, right? I think according to, not to me, but like everybody else. They were like, who's this guy? But you just need guys to step up and fill roles. And I think it's great when the stars align, right? You need the stars to align in the sense that it has to be the right environment. It has to be the right opportunity, right? You lost a guy like Santander earlier, and now there's opportunity, right? In my case, we lost Michael Saunders. Posey was on the shelf for a little bit. Like, we're in a weird situation. So you need guys to kind of just step up and embrace roles. And again, I say the stars align because it's not expected when you're writing the lineup card on opening day. But then, the next year in 2016, everybody was asking me who's going to lead off. I'm like, well, they don't write it in stone on opening day. So, things can change throughout the year. And it's cool when you see kids like this get an opportunity and really run with it, because I think that's part of creating, a championship environment.
Chris, when you look at this team's offense as a whole, when I go back to 2015, that era, you guys were leading baseball in home runs. This version of the Blue Jays, middle of the pack in home runs, but they're leading the league in average, in on base, the fewest strikeouts in all of baseball. What does that tell you about this team, from coaching right on down to the players, what they're accomplishing? Because this has been a big shift in Toronto.
That they're grimy. They're the way they need to be. And I think that was part of what our magic was, is that we had guys that could hit. Like, don't get it twisted. When Eddie was 0 for 15 with a bunch of rollovers and strikeouts, if you put a runner on second and third for him, those guys were scoring. You know what I mean? And that's the telltale sign of a great team. And for all the people, I was reading a bunch of tweets the other day about, batting average doesn't matter. And, John Heyman, I think, said something about, look at that. The teams that are leading the league in batting average are all in first place. And it's a testament to consistency. It's a testament to how you go about your at-bats day in and day out. Batting average will always be important because it's a reflection of the type of at-bats you're willing to take day in and day out when things get hard. And give me a team who can do this and minimize strikeouts, right? Put balls in play. That's the definition of hitting. It has been for 150 years, but it's 2025 and we decide we're going to make new metric because we want to sound cool. Like, if you can hit, you can hit. And, I talked about Vladdy earlier this year and people were so worried about his homers. I'm like, that guy needs to stay in the big part of the field. When he stays in the big part of the field, he's dangerous. I don't care if he hits the ball out of the ballpark. I care that he's a threat to every time he steps into the box.
Let's go back to the stars aligning. There's some great stories on this team with the game on the line. You never know who's going to do it, but you can count on somebody doing it. When we look at this, the thing that's attracted to us for this story is it's happening now, but it projects into the future. Like, you could see the Barger story developing. You could see the evolution there, and we don't know exactly where it goes, but it's a positive feel. When you watch them play, do you get that?
For sure. I think it's been a combination of things, right? Like, even early in the year, George establishing himself as being back, right? Like, that was a huge step for the team itself. The young kids got to get put in different roles at different times, and they really just kind of jumped at the occasion. Guys like Tyler Heineman, who I played with in AAA as the backup catcher, essentially having a career year. Like, those things don't happen by accident, in my opinion. They happen because you feel the support from the guys around you, and ultimately it becomes a race to the bat rack that way, instead of, I need to be selfish and be the one that gets my numbers and I don't care about anybody else. And what that does is it elevates an entire group, right? And now young players will want to support that cause, as opposed to being stressed out about, where they fit and how whether they're going to stay or they're going to get optioned. and you have to do some things that sometimes, on paper don't seem like the best moves, where you might have a guy that's optionable. Like, it's become like this game for a lot of teams where they're like trying to just keep team control and all that stuff, when that could really affect the kind of the makeup and the composition of everybody in that room. To me, what that room feels like at all times is far more important than being able to create the right matchup once over the course of a series. So yeah, it's cool stuff going on there. I'm rooting. I'm not jealous anymore. Like 5 years ago, I would have still told you I want them to lose every game, but now I'm a fan again. So
I think we're out of time. Chris, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
my pleasure, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Chris Colabello, former Blue Jay, and of course, Pelotero co-founder. It's a story that has taken some roots and it's planted and it's going forward. I like this. I mean, go through the list. There's a storyline for every, that.
Yeah. I like that race to the bat rack. And that's that contagious momentum you're building. When everyone around you is doing it, you want to do it too. It's he's really hitting on it right there. The race to the bat rack. It's just it builds up. It's a snowball.
Yep. Excited to see what they got tonight.
Yeah.
Cubbies in town. Getting at a pretty good time. They haven't been playing very well lately. I think they're under 500 since the All-Star break.
Yeah, a bit of a skid.
Yeah, Pete Crow Armstrong has not been hitting well. He's got 2 hits in his last 8 games.
All right. Heck of a defender, though.
Under 100. Under 100 batting average right now. This guy was second in MVP voting a couple of weeks ago.
Coming up next, we're going to go through the grid. It's listed on TSN of the people that have played sports in Toronto that aren't liked. Bit of a contest.
Yes.
So we'll go through that next as OverDrive continues live on YouTube, TSN 4, TSN 1050.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Welcome back to Overdrive. So let's just dive into this. TSN 1050's Quarter Century Bracket Challenge unveils the most disliked Toronto athlete division. So day one is done, and Dragic defeats Marner is the most disliked, which interesting. Insigne slips by Turkoglu. What else do we have? Kessel is okay. Stroman defeats him handily. And David Clarkson slips by Bargnani. Vince Carter all over Ricky Williams. Osuna gets by Bosch, which I think we would have predicted. Phaneuf gets by Frank Thomas. Gardner gets by Rios. Any surprises in all of that?
I mean, the Marner is a big one.
It is for me.
The loss there. Let's trace some of those IP addresses on the votes here. See how much Ferris and Marner comes back on the addresses. But
he was a polarizing player, though. Like, there were a lot of Marner supporters that believe that he was unjustly criticized for what went down here in Toronto. Like, when he was the man who they decided to move on from in order to move forward, a lot of people came out and said, well, how could you possibly think that he's the problem?
Well, I would agree with that.
Fair question.
But he did leave, and he did sort of negate any kind of movement prior to the Waugh acquisition, but at the deadline. And because he did leave and everybody else remains, because we're talking right now, he sort of is somewhat of a villain. Whether that's justified or not, time will give us the answer.
Yeah, I am surprised. Like, Goran Dragic.
That's the other part of it. I mean, this guy, when he was acquired, said he didn't want to come here, apologized, came here, and then got railroaded
I just don't care about Goran Dragic.
Exactly.
The thing, like, why does Toronto care enough about Goran Dragic to be more upset about him and dislike him more than they do about like the Marner situation? I get he didn't want to be here, and he came out and he's like, I'm not going to Toronto, screw that place. And then never end up playing for this team.
They didn't play him when he was here.
No, I know. But, well, he didn't want to play anyway.
Well, I don't think
it's what it's attached to, guys.
I think it was mutual.
It's the emotion of being
mutual.
attached to the Kyle Lowry deal, who's beloved, and you wanted something immediately for Lowry. And I think it's a very Toronto thing, too. You know, there is always a little bit of that inferiority complex, younger sibling syndrome in this city. It's a city I call home. It's not where I grew up and lived, but there's always some of that, guys.
It happens more with the Raptors than it's had in any other team.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a history of players getting traded to Toronto and saying, I'm not going there.
And this city wants to feel chosen.
That matters. Like, that hurts the city. Clearly, according to the Twitter poll here. But Dragic and Insigne is a very interesting situation. But Dion and Jake Gardner is the matchup today. And I'm curious who's going to get more votes here, because they both spent a long time as the whipping boys. So for them to be a second-round matchup.
At the same time.
Yeah, at the same time, feels like that's a tough decision to make for Leaf fans.
It is. I like that Stroman absolutely, like 3-1 over Kessel. Kessel became somewhat of a fan favorite.
Yeah.
In a humorous kind of way.
In a weird, beloved way at the end.
Yeah.
So, hey, one more W for Marcus on his way out.
Yeah. Well, he was Mr. Toronto
wherever
for a
he's
while.
going. He was for a moment. He got the tattoo,
and he told us.
Then
and he told us he was. Coming up next, more baseball talk. Ryan Dempster will stop by, and then after that, AB's brightest futures in sports for franchises. Overdrive continues. TSN 4, TSN 1050, and live on YouTube.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
OverDrive, a little Taylor Swift action, and that sets up where we're going. Keegan Matheson, Al's brother, Mike DeStefano, Jim Taddy. So obviously Travis and his brother Kelsey doing the podcast and Taylor Swift on it. So we have a clip of that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Nice color on you.
Yes, I know. It's the color of your eyes, sweetie. That's why we match so well.
We're about to do a podcast.
Okay. Travis and Jason Kelsey and Taylor Swift and sort of an ad-lib moment there.
Finally a win for guys with podcasts.
Well,
My goodness, after all these years.
Well, she announced that she's coming out with a new album on the podcast.
Yeah.
T12, I guess. Her 12th album, 12th studio album. So that's a big get, let me tell you, to get Taylor Swift on a podcast.
I think they might get more
Not too
downloads than
bad.
us on this one.
We've tried many times.
Maybe.
But,
Her reps don't get back.
He flushes Doogie on the regular. He tries
a
every
complete no guy if I ever
We
saw
need to
one.
get that request out closer to the release.
Yeah.
You know,
Dude,
we don't have a date
you
yet.
ever reached out to Taylor Swift's people? I'm curious at this point. Like, she's been a big enough star in the NFL where it may be worth a request.
100% I've asked.
And you've gotten flushed every time.
Every single
Did you
time.
get
Have
a
you gotten a
response,
response?
or silence?
From the record agencies, yes, I've got responses.
Wow.
And they say respectfully, no
Respectfully,
chance.
we're going to decline as she's working on her own projects.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Let's keep
that's worded
trying.
well.
Let them know it's going to be a show that I'll be here for, and that I can run deep on the catalog.
I will mention that.
I respect the
You
full
big
catalog.
Taylor Swift fan, Keeks?
I've, by osmosis, I've been around enough of it. So, like release night for the Life of a Showgirl, I'll be there, I'm sure. I was at the concert.
Oh,
in
you were at
Toronto.
the concert.
I
In
was.
Toronto. That was
Quite a night.
insane. I walked past the Rogers Center while that mayhem was going on. It was wild to see.
It was
there.
unlike anything I've ever been around. I think I turned because I was just there looking like me, and I just wore what I always wore. I was very out of place. And I think I became a weird target for the friendship bracelet collectors. This clearly awkward boyfriend standing here looking like an ogre in this crowd. And so I worked up quite the collection, man. It was a cool night. I loved it.
What about you a Lil Wayne fan?
Yeah.
You see what happened
An
last night?
appreciator. I did not see. You're my pop culture man. Fill me in here.
Lil Wayne had he was supposed to do a show last night down at it was Bud Stage. I believe he was doing the show at Bud Stage.
Uh-oh.
5 minutes before the opener comes on, they cancel the show.
No.
Everyone was already there in their seats waiting, and all of a sudden, little message comes up on the board. Sorry, postponing the show. Your tickets will be honored for the next time he's in town.
They say why?
Unforeseen illness or something like that.
Ooh.
But then there was a video that came out on Instagram that the opener, who's supposed to come on, literally 5 minutes after that message came out, apparently he was still in New York City.
Whoops.
Oh.
He posted on his story in New York City. So he was never even in the country. There was no shot that he was going to come on. I don't know what happened there, but that took over my social feed last night.
Yikes.
The Wheezy cancellation.
Yeah.
Big stuff here in Toronto.
Character move.
No, thank you.
All NFL training camps are filled with please don't get injured, or if you have a contract hassle, please settle it. James Cook returned to the Bills practice today, and Josh Allen, among others, pretty happy about that. A positive spin, right?
It's a big one for the Bills
it's
if they
been
can get him
extremely
back.
normal between us. Not going to ask him to do anything that he doesn't want to do or wouldn't do, or I wouldn't do myself. So I understand that, in his mind, it was the right thing to do, and I trust him. But yeah, very happy to have him back out there today.
When you say expected, have you had conversations with him that lead you to think he's practicing today? Like, has anything changed?
I would say so. I would say so that things have changed, Elena, with, and yes, we've had conversations with James, good conversations, as I've mentioned before, and the information that we're getting is that he is moving in the direction of practicing.
So that's a sigh of relief from the other side of the Peace Bridge.
McDermott always looks so cheery, doesn't he? he's thrilled to be there, but I'm sure he's exhausted of being asked about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because a coach can't say something, and I always feel bad as I can for a coach when every day they're saying, oh, we hope he's here. I don't know. But it's, for a player like James Cook, I always want the player to get paid. He's coming off a big year. He's at the right age. He's looking around the league. You just saw Kyron Williams get a pretty fair deal. He's looking north of Kyron Williams.
Running backs just don't get paid, though. Like,
you
there's no second contract usually for running backs. Nothing big. You have to be a star. You have to be a big-time player to get a second contract at that position. Very short lifespan. And they clearly believe that there's a guy in the building in Ray Davis that could do a lot of similar things. And they don't want to lock themselves into the James Cook business long term and take up that valuable cap space. That's the problem with the cap world.
Yeah,
that's a big issue there. We've had that here in Toronto a lot. Buffalo, the Bills, football, same situation. So
all right, let's veer back to baseball. Bring in Ryan Dempster now, MLB Network, and Intentional Talk host on MLB Network as well, and also from Gibson's, BC. Ryan, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So take us through your assessment of the Jays. I mean, obviously, we're all excited here. Where does this go?
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's what it's all about, and the excitement is what you want this time of year, right? And Toronto has it. I think they got a really good ball club. Made some good pickups. Getting Shane Bieber is a nice pickup. I think adding depth to your rotation. And just a solid nucleus of veteran guys and young guys and all this kind of stuff. Good right-handed hitting, left-handed hitting, and they're getting it done. And it's really exciting because there's, like I've said multiple times, there's nothing better than the Rogers Center, being packed. And I know it's going to be electric the next few days as the Cubs come into town.
Ryan, we've talked a lot about the six-man rotation being an option for the Blue Jays once Shane Bieber returns. We're expecting possibly as early as mid next week. How does that change the mindset and routine of a starter when you're getting the ball every sixth day instead of every fifth?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think there's a much more adjustability now than there used to be. The guys used to be so set in their routines, but I think that extra day sometimes can help. Looking back my career, I'm sure there's times where I probably could have used that extra day. I think if a guy is making sure, I don't like a six-man rotation, then you keep a guy at like 90 pitch limit or 100 pitch limit. Like, let him go a little bit. If you're giving him a whole extra day's rest, just why not let it eat for that week? It's different, but also, it can be effective. And then you can kind of play with it. If somebody's not pitching well, you can move them out of that spot. But I was just such a creature of habit for me to think outside of that, was tough in the time. But I remember, Bob Boone, when I was in the Reds in 2003, he wanted to go back to the four-man rotation. So, it's interesting how people want to go about it. And, hopefully it works out for them. And then you don't have, because you do have qualified starters. Every one of them's throwing the ball well, so they all deserve to be in there.
Ryan, one of those has been Max Scherzer, and we've seen the best of him lately. It took a bit of a wait in Toronto. He was dealing with that thumb issue through the early months. But his last few outings, he looks like vintage Mad Max. What is it like for you to not only watch him do this, but watch him do this at 41 years old? Like, most pitchers have been retired for a while at this age. He seems like he's still got it.
Isn't it crazy that teams shied away from him because they didn't like his arm action because they didn't think he'd stay healthy, and here he is still at 41. And his issues, if you look at the history of his career, haven't been his arm. It's been back, a hamstring, now a thumb. And, and for him, when the thumb happened, you got to remember, like, his first few starts after that, that's basically his spring training. You can say, rehab time, but to get back facing big league hitters and big league situations and go through all that, it takes a minute. And now he's got locked back in the velocity. I mean, he's still 94, 95 when he needs it. And he just knows how to pitch, man. You can't – if a guy still has stuff, you can't substitute experience. It's just too valuable. He's seen too many swings. He's seen too many offenses. He knows what's going on. And that's why, like, if they continue on this route and get to the postseason, he's a guy that I'm considering putting as my number one starter in the postseason because he's pitched in those situations where the adrenaline's going, where guys try to do more. I remember that. I tried to do more than I should have done in a postseason start because I thought it was the the end-all be-all, where somebody who's been in that so many times, they just have a steady calmness to them. And, it's got to be a really nice thing for the Blue Jays that you take that gamble on Max Scherzer. And for now, right now, it looks like it's trending in the direction of paying off.
Ryan Dempster with us on the Maple Toyota Hotline. So, Ryan, just to continue that thought, sort of take us through the difference between starting in a playoff game and a regular season game. What is the difference?
Honestly, nothing. And that's the problem, is controlling that and realizing that it is the same. It's just about making pitches, because you can get caught up in it all, that it means more, that it's more important. When the reality is it just comes down to you just got to execute pitches. I think the biggest thing, if I have to pick one thing, is you're playing a really good team who's also locked in at that time. Like, you got to remember that all those teams that are making the playoffs, those are the best teams going right now. So you're facing a really good lineup usually, and the deeper you get into the postseason, the more that becomes evident. So you really have to be focused. Don't take pitches off, and just make sure that you're executing one pitch after another. And that's all that matters. And, when you try to make it grandiose, you try to make it bigger than it is, you can tend to get hurt by that. And then how do you fuel the adrenaline, especially your home crowd? Use that adrenaline, use that energy in a positive way instead of it getting the best of you.
So to kind of keep on that line of thinking, and you noted that earlier, the six-man rotation, well, you can keep it going because everyone is pitching well, which is the case. But come playoff time, you're going to shorten that rotation, and someone's going to get squeezed out. And, you were in a situation in your career where you ended up having to be converted into a reliever option for the team come the postseason. Like, how difficult was that to kind of grasp, and how different did your routine get when you had to be a reliever as opposed to a starter?
Yeah, I think for me at that time in my life, I was 37 years old, 36 years old when it happened. I had been pitching for a long time. My number one priority, my only goal was to win a World Series. That's it. Our team in itself, we checked our egos at the door. It was never about me. It was about we. And so when I was approached by John Farrell, he called me in the office probably thinking I was going to, do my best Ricky Vaughn, throw something to Lou Brown imitation. But I was like, oh, I get it. Jake Peavy, we got him in the trade. He was throwing the ball better than I was at the time. And Felix Dubron hadn't pitched out of the bullpen. And I'd closed three seasons. So it made logical sense. And I said, listen, all I want to do is win. And so I would like to pitch. I would like to contribute. I don't want to just go down there. But also at the same time, you got to remember, the guys who get you there are the reason you're there. So I knew I wasn't going to be pitching in these high leverage situations out of the bullpen because we already had a closer. We already had Tozawa, and Craig Breslow was throwing the ball really well. We had guys in Matt Thornton that were pitching well. So that wasn't my spot. When you're younger, you want to be, well, this doesn't make sense. How could you take me out of the rotation? But at the end of the day, if you check yourself and go, they wouldn't be asking me to go out of the rotation if I was throwing the ball lights out right now. That's just not how it is. Every team's trying to win. So I think, that's the one nice part with the Jays. You have a lot of veterans. So I think you're going to get a lot of that sentiment as well. We all want to start. I want to start a postseason game. I want to start a World Series game. I dreamt of that as a kid. But more importantly, I wanted us to win. And that's the only thing that matters. And if you put the we ahead of me, good things happen.
Ryan, coming out of this weekend with the Blue Jays, they matched up with the Dodgers. This was a big one, a big test for them. Now another one coming with the Cubs, who you know just as well as about anyone. What do you think this series is going to tell us about the Blue Jays with the challenge that the Cubs present to them? These are a couple of real heavyweights now in the majors.
Yeah, I think it's a good, it's a good look. It's a barometer, right? But at the end of the day, too, you're feeling good about yourself. You don't really care a lot about what the other team or how good they've been or what they've done or where they are in the standings. You, at this point in the season, when you're in first place and you're feeling this good, you feel like you can beat anybody on any given night. You feel like you can do that. You go into LA, you put yourself in a position and Flaherty comes in, bases loaded, and Ohtani gets out of that. That's a confidence boost. So now you feel like it doesn't matter who you got. I just got out Shohei Ohtani with the bases loaded and 1 out in the bottom of the ninth inning. Who are you going to throw against me? Pete Armstrong? Who's Kyle Tucker? Cool, awesome. Those are good players, but I got out the best of the best. And so you're at this point in the season where that doesn't concern you as much. I think maybe like when you look at like end of May, beginning of June, and you're playing, okay, how do we match up against the other good teams? Now you are one of the good teams and one of the better teams, you know. You're sitting there at the top of the American League. You feel like you can beat anybody, and rightfully so. So I just think what we're going to see is a really good series with two really good ball clubs, and you're going to see a lot of execution. And then when you don't, you're going to see other teams pay for it. And that's just, you're going to see guys stealing bases. You're going to see guys making great defensive plays because you have those kind of players on each roster.
Well, we all have that image of the strikeout by Ohtani in the ninth inning that saves the Jays' bacon, basically, and the next play is a fielder's choice that ends it. Where do you rank the Blue Jays bullpen? What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think it's been really good. You know, I'm a little concerned with Hoffman with the walks, and you're just going through that. But I also get that I've been in that situation before. You're trying not to, you got to be careful because you got a lot of guys in that lineup that can hit homers. I did set a major league record by walking 4 straight batters as a closer and still getting a save. So I can literally say I've been in that season. But I like, I like the lefties they got. I like Rodriguez. I think that I was hoping, I stated it beforehand, I was hoping that they maybe try to make a run at Duran or make a run at, a top-line reliever, whether it's Helsley from the Cardinals, but they didn't get it done. And that's their choice, right? Like, they're running their team. Just because you need more good arms. Like I said, when you get in the playoffs and you start whittling it down, you get to 12 teams and then 8 teams and then 4, you need swing and miss stuff because the guys just get that much better at the plate. And so hopefully, they got that. And I feel like they do. It's just a matter of not as much experience in those roles, but that doesn't mean you can't get it done.
Ryan, since the MLB trade deadline, is there a team in the American League they think has started to separate themselves? Like going into it, it was very wide open, and then pretty well every team made a move to better themselves, the Jays included. But is there a team that separated themselves, or is it still kind of wide open for you in the American League?
I think the team that made the best moves in the American League was the Seattle Mariners. I think adding Josh Naylor, he's not a huge 40 home run guy, but he is an RBI guy. He drives and runs. Look what he's done in the stolen base departments he's got over there. Yeah. That's kind of been unexpected. He's a good defender at first base. He's a great teammate. I played with him in the WBC. He's fun. He brings a lot of energy. You go get Eugenio Suarez, who hasn't even really done what they were expecting him to do yet. I think that will come. They get Caleb Ferguson, a nasty lefty from Pittsburgh. And all that while, they already had a good bullpen. They got a lights-out closer in Munoz. They got Matt Brash. They got, a starting rotation that other teams are envious of. So, yeah, and they were already starting to swing it well. It was like they took momentum and ran with it. And so I look at them as a ball club that is very dangerous going down the stretch because not only do you have players, you have experience. Look at Josh Naylor. He had a chance to go deep in the postseason last year before being traded to Arizona when he was with Cleveland. Yeah, I think that, to me, when I graded the trading deadline of teams that made moves, I think they addressed every issue that they needed to address for the first time, really. So, yeah, they'll be interesting to see if they can overtake the Astros.
Ryan, when you look at a bigger picture in the league, I think last week it was when you were on Intentional Talk, you were saying that you thought the Blue Jays had a chance to pop a little more champagne than the Dodgers. And if I'm remembering right, Millar said you sounded like a Leafs fan. I don't know if that's a compliment these days or an insult, but when you look at the Blue Jays and their odds, not just to make the postseason, but to make a real run here, who else are you looking up as the big powers? It has to be the Brewers at this point. What they're doing is incredible, but who do you think are their big hurdles to make another World Series run?
Yeah. First of all, shout out to Kevin, the fact that he even knew the Leafs were a hockey team.
I was impressed.
I was very impressed with that. So, it's hard. Listen, the Red Sox are playing great baseball, so that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, and then they go lose 3 in a row. It's like you're like, oh, here they come. And they got Garrett Crochet, and then he goes out there and gets hit around by Houston. I look at there's nothing really runaway. Like, to me, I think the Yankees could miss the playoffs. I think Cleveland is playing really good baseball right now, and I think that, they could be dangerous because they always just find a way. They're sneaky. And Detroit has hit this lull in their season. Is that because they're tuckering out, or are they just in this lull period, right? You look at the last 162 games they've played from, the trading deadline last year to this year. they've been pretty good. And then it's like, do you keep up that pace? So, and then there's other teams, but like I've been expecting Texas to make a run and thought that maybe they would pop a little bit. So like when I look at it, I sit there and say, why not the Jays? You know, you're sitting here, you got the best record in the American League. You got a fan base that is electric. They feed off of that. You got as solid as rotation as anybody in the American League. And offensively, you're scoring runs without having to hit home runs. And I love that because, you know, like look at what the Brewers have done since July 1st. As a team, the Brewers are hitting .281. I watched them score 17 runs one game without a home run. The next day they scored 12 runs without a home run. I saw them score 10 runs without a home run. It's great. Home runs are awesome. Do they win the game? Yeah. People always say, well, it's the team that hits the most home runs that wins the game. For sure. Yeah, I completely buy into that. But it's also the base hit before the home run, the tough walk before the home run, the getting on base so it's a 2-run home run and not a solo shot. It's those kind of things that get you done. Andrew Vaughn sat there with a 5-1 lead and runners on first and third, and he's as hot a hitter as they have in Milwaukee, and he's facing a lefty, and he rakes lefty, and he safety squeezed. Like, because the most important thing was winning the game. It's not about my stats, and that's kind of what I love about the Blue Jays. As I look at it, like what Vladdy has 19. Did he get to 20 yet? I think he had 19. And,
Still 19,
and here in LA. And so we don't have a guy. You don't have a guy on the team with 20 home runs yet. You're the best record in baseball. That tells you a lot about the value of putting the ball on play with 2 strikes, about having tough at bats, about getting a runner over, about getting a runner in. Now you hit the big 3-run home run. It's like, well, we hit the 3-run homer. Cool. It was all the hard work before the home run is the reason why you're winning that game. And I see that in their ball club, and I think that they do. They have to see that, and because of that, they're playing great baseball.
We had on earlier Chris Colabello talking about how lit up the Rogers Center gets. Now, he's on the home team. You're on the visiting team. You go into that building. Give us some context on what is different about that building or you know, the experience of when it's lit up and you're on the visiting team.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, right? It's like home field advantage. You feel like it should be the same for both ways, right? Like you have this immense amount of noise and the crowd gets going. But for whatever reason, when it's your home ballpark, you're able to channel that into an extra mile an hour or 2 on your fastball, or, you know, you're able to like treat it as like somebody's in your corner in the ring. And yet when you're on the other team, things tense up, the ball gets tighter in your hand. I can't speak from hitting there, you know, but as a pitcher, it tightens up a little. Your hand gets a little bit harder on the ball. Maybe you're trying to be a little bit more perfect because you don't want to give up the big home run and have the roof blow off the place, you know, like all these things can creep in, and it's a real thing. And not every ballpark has it. The Rogers Center, it's big. It can have a lot of people in there, and it's loud. It's just louder, right? It's just the way the setup is, and it can be obnoxiously loud for a visiting ball player, and it's a huge advantage. And that's why having, you know, the ability to have home field advantage through the playoffs, man, you're talking about, I mean, legitimate. You can go into statistics and all that kind of stuff, and you can cool. I've been on that mound in that stadium when it's loud, when I was at the Red Sox, and, you know, my bad, never lost there, but, you know, I totally remember what it's like, and then I've been in there as a spectator, and I've seen it on TV with the big moments that we've seen, the bat flips and all that by Bautista and all these things. It's real, and so for them, I think if they can find a way to continue to play like they are and get home field advantage, you know, man, what a truly big blessing they would have going into the postseason.
That's an interesting take on that, Ryan. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Great to be with you.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go. Ryan Dempster, former Major League Baseball pitcher, starter, and got into some relief work. Ryan joined us on the Maple Toyota hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4, gas or hybrid, models available. Visit mapletoyota.com and check that out. I mean, we don't talk much about the atmosphere. You're in there. I mean, yeah. If you go to a game, you feel it, but to get the context of how that plays out across Major League Baseball, that's fascinating to me.
This year's different. And when I compare it even to the 22 and 23 playoff runs, they were sold-out crowds, but 2 different sellout crowds. They're not the same. You can tell when people are there for hot dogs or a bobblehead and when they're there because the team is hot.
Right.
And right now they're there because the team is hot. Yeah, there might be cheap dogs some night and there might be a giveaway, but they are there because of the baseball team now. And the noise the last month, completely different than the recent playoff runs. The players feel it, man. It's energizing because they're all exhausted. It's energizing and it's working. Totally different.
Yeah, you can't get a ticket right now. I was looking into it 'cause I might go down to the game potentially Friday. You can't get a ticket even up in the bleeds for less than $60. Like earlier in the year, you try to get tickets in May, like you could easily get tickets for $14, $15 a day of easy for nosebleeds in the 500s. Now you're paying $60, $70, $100 for tickets. It's a hot buy.
Yeah,
hot buy right now.
or 150.
Yikes! Yeah, there we go.
As I did the other day. Yeah, I mean that happens. Well, that's demand. It's the market value, right?
Yeah,
they'll give all that money to a big slugger. Don't worry.
I think they already did.
That's how it works.
Yeah, they already did.
They're getting out of the red at this point. Yeah.
One more to go, guys.
Yeah.
One more slugger to go.
You have a power list, brightest futures in sports for franchises.
Yeah.
That's coming up next as OverDrive grinds on TSN 1050, TSN 4, and live on YouTube.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
There it is. Set up for Al's brother to take over the proceedings here with the brightest futures in pro sports franchise-wise.
Yes, so we got a top 5 list, Little Al's brother power ranking that we're bringing to the table here. And as you noted, top 5 franchises with the brightest future. So we'll go from 5 down to 1, and we'll kind of just break them down as we go. And coming in at number 5, got a little CanCon here. I like the Montreal Canadiens. I like the future. I like what they've been building over the last couple of years. They've been doing some good things in Montreal. Obviously, Lane Hutson's arrival last year and him breaking out into a superstar helps that. Ivan Demidov came in at the end of the year. You saw what type of buzz that did, and people believe he could be a true 90 to 100-point guy. That's big. To go on top of the Slafkovskys, the Caulfields, the Suzukis, there's a lot to be happy about if you're a Montreal Canadiens fan. The future looks bright in Les Habitants world.
What I like about the Habs is so many of these teams build through the draft. There's nothing the matter with that. And then bring in veteran pieces to help these guys figure out how to win. That team's driven by youth. I like that.
Yeah, and they're all, for the most part, you look at Slafkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki, those guys are locked in long-term too.
And they carry the team.
Yeah. And eventually, you're clearly going to get the Hudson deal dealt with. You got Demidov for a couple of years at a cheap rate. You can bring in some guys, to supplement that at the deadline if you want. I like what they're building in Montreal. I think it's a team they, finally broke through, made the playoffs last year. I don't think it's a one-off. This is a team that I think is going to continue to move forward in the NHL. So you got the Canadiens coming in at number 5.
They've nailed their drafting, too, which is what makes this sustainable. And they've got some surplus draft picks coming up. I think they have another 2 next year. They can deal. I think they can make that jump now with their major players in the trade market as well and shop at the big boys. But
and they made that nice little piece, too. They went and acquired, who was it that they brought in from St. Louis?
Bolduc.
Zach Bolduc for Logan Mailloux. And it's just a great trade.
Yeah.
They had an excess of surplus of, bottom-end defenseman, an NHL defenseman, I believe, but someone who's maybe a bottom 4 guy. And you bring in a third-line winger with a little bit of grit just to balance out your lineup. So I thought that was a great trade as well to kind of add to what the Canadiens have been up to. So they come in at number 5 for me. Coming in at number 4, we're going to go to the NFL. I like the future of the Denver Broncos.
Ooh.
I like the Broncos. I mean, you look at the season they had a year ago. I think a lot of people were surprised at the success that they were able to have with rookie quarterback Bo Nix in fold. But he turned out to be a pretty solid quarterback, and it's easy to play the quarterback position, or easier to play the quarterback position. We have arguably the best offensive line in football, which is what they have. When you have Sean Payton as your head coach, who knows how to win football games and big time games as well, former Super Bowl winner. They got a terrific running back in the draft this year to try and help that process. But really, you look at it, they also have the best defense in football. The reigning defensive player of the year in Pat Surtain is unbelievable as a corner, little lockdown, shutdown corner, Revis Island 2.0, if you will. And they've got a lot of other pieces on that defense I like as well. And locked up long-term, too. So similar to the Canadiens, it's a young group, and they're locked in and ready to go. I think that the Broncos are going to be competitive with the Chiefs for the next few years here in the AFC West.
Love the Knicks story. I mean, this guy was a debate for a week or two and then just took over. So anytime that happens, that's great for a franchise.
And they've given him a lot of help, too. I love that they even brought in Evan Engram. He's not the most dynamic guy in the world. He's going to suck up a bunch of targets, and he's going to move the chains. I love that they added R.J. Harvey. The running game's going to do a lot. Sean Payton's going to have some fun. Pat Bryant, the receivers, some young guys they've got in there on top of Cortland Sutton, man.
Yeah.
The defense, Sean Payton plus a defense, bingo.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Great defense. That's the thing. So I expect big things of the Broncos this year. They're going to be competitive, not just this season, but moving forward.
Sounds like a man with the over Broncos wins over here.
Oh, I do. I have over on the, I think it's 9.5. Hammered the over there. Hammered the over. I also I like the future of the San Jose Sharks, who come in at number 3 for me. So going back to hockey, I like what Mike Greer's done out there. And you look at last year, they bring in Macklin Celebrini. I mean, it was an obvious number 1 overall pick there, but he had a heck of a rookie season. And that said, he looked like a guy who can lead a franchise. And when you have a guy who can lead a franchise like that down the middle, I think that goes a long way to building out your team. This year, you come in, Michael Misa right there. You got Yaroslav Askarov. You picked up in a trade. I still believe in him. He was incredible in the American League last year. So I think they're building the pieces properly here. They've got Will Smith. They've got a lot of really good young talent, and they're starting to kind of insulate that with some veterans around them. So I like what's going on in San Jose. I think it's a bright future there. Not liking it.
No, I mean, I like what they're doing. I just don't know if it'd be number 3 on my all-sports franchise.
I'm just high on Macklin Celebrini. I think
I
that
would be,
kid's
too.
Gonna be a stud. Absolute stud.
Okay, well, that's me. Go ahead, Keegan.
Do you think this takes a while, though? Like, is this the year they become just a little more relevant?
No, I don't think that they're ready yet. And this for me, when I'm projecting, like when I looked at my list, it wasn't this year, like necessarily. It could be teams. Like I think the Canadians and Broncos are there, but it's also, all right, this team is built for, 5, 6, 7 years of sustainable success. That's kind of where my parameters went with the Sharks. So it might not be this year that they take that step. I don't expect them to be a playoff team, but they're putting the pieces together, and I think eventually it's going to break through, and I think they'll have some success with the group that they're building. Coming in at number 2, again, this is another team that's having success this year, but I think will have sustained success. The Detroit Tigers. I look at the Detroit Tigers, and I think, man, they're already one of the best teams in the American League. You've got the best pitcher in baseball, Tariq Skubal, over the last couple of years. Paul Skeens might have something to say, but it's very comparable, 1A, 1B. Spencer Torkelson is finally turning into the talent that we expected him to become when he was the number 1 overall pick. Riley Green is turning into that. And I took a look at the farm system. They have 5 players in the top 52 in MLB Pipeline's top 100. Jackson Joe being one of their top pitching prospects in all of baseball. It can come in and help with the Tariq Skubals, the Casey Mizes of the world to really get that rotation cooking over the next 5 years. The Detroit Tigers, they were a surprise this season early on, and they've cooled off a little bit, but I still expect them to be a competitive baseball club, not just this year, but for years to come.
I would agree with you. And I mean, their story started to take off late last year. So let me throw this at you, Keegan. I mean, it's not literally the same as the Jays, but kind of the same story, isn't it? It just comes out of not nowhere, but it comes suddenly.
Happens when it happens. And you need it all to come together at the right time. The Blue Jays outspend the Tigers, and that's what I'm interested to see where they go next with their spending in Detroit. If you win, if you make it to an ALCS, more money comes in, you can put that out. Everything works financially, but especially when you get someone like Skubal going up against, the end of their deal and how much do you spend there? Because watching him pitch is a joy, man. Like a big lefty like that, built big, country strong, throwback, attacks hitters. It's so fun to watch a pitcher like that who you can tell is going to sustain it and going to stick around. They're not just here to try and throw 104 once. They're trying to do it over and over again. And when you've got that as a foundation, and you've got like those 5 prospects, top 52, that typically means you suck. That typically means you're bottom of the league and you're about to come back. You're the Orioles from a few years back.
Right.
But to have present day value along with prospects coming up.
It's an embarrassment of riches to be a Tigers fan right
Amazing.
now. Like you got the present and future of your ball club. Another team in baseball that I consider in this list, an honorable mention, that fits the same mold, like the Boston Red Sox. Have a bunch of top prospects.
They've got some
too.
moxie coming.
And now that you got like Garrett Crochet in the mix as an ace starter, like they've got some guys that are going to come through. Roman Anthony is going to be a stud. And so that was kind of an honorable mention that I had on this list here. 2 baseball teams with a bright future. But coming in at number 1.
Is there any kind of drum roll here? There we go.
There we go. The San Antonio Spurs.
Ooh,
I think the Spurs, I mean, you look at Victor Wembanyama is just an absolute gift for that franchise to get. They had so many years of success under Greg Popovich, and right towards the end of his career, they give him Victor Wembanyama as a parting present, basically. They haven't broke through yet, per se, but he hasn't been healthy, really to the extent of what he can be. But, man, like the way this guy can play the sport of basketball is almost like anything we've ever seen. Like, he's 7'6". He's got an unbelievable wingspan. He can shoot the ball. He can defend. He's athletic. It's unreal the way that Victor Wembanyama can play. They got the reigning Rookie of the Year, Stephon Castle. They just signed De'Aaron Fox to a long-term deal. They drafted Dylan Harper, another young, talented player. So they've got a young nucleus here And I would imagine that at some point, like, they're going to start to be the destination where some veteran free agents are going to want to go to, attach themselves to a Wembanyama of sorts as this team starts to win a lot of basketball games. So for me, the Spurs, I think that they've got a very bright future.
I'm not going to argue with you there. I mean, we did the game where he absolutely wiped out the Raptors.
Oh, yeah, like 10 blocks in that game.
Scotiabank, you're watching that game and you go, here he is.
It's a one-of-a-kind experience. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And what Mike says is exactly it. It's going to be a destination, not just for superstars, but that's how you get the 34-year-old veteran who says, hey, I'll take that minimum just to come and chase one.
Right.
That's
you get the veteran
sweet
exception.
spot where you get it. You've seen it with Jokic and LeBron and the big ones, but they're still their big move away, too. Like, they haven't made their other big superstar with Wemby move yet. And that's where it gets exciting, because any superstar who's on the market, and ideally some good ones come up. It doesn't just have to be Durant every year. Right. But you're going to have a big one come up, and it's always going to be the Spurs in that because they haven't struck yet. They still have control of their picks. They've got cash to do it. And that's where this gets exciting, because Wemby alone is a destination. But if you can add a star next to him, I like that as a number one a lot.
Yeah.
You're right. We're going to miss that Durant story when it
Annual.
fades.
That fills some summers, baby.
It does, yeah.
It's valuable.
So who got scalped off your list? I mean, who was sort of there?
A team that I considered putting on this. I mean, Oklahoma City is a team that I think
I like that story.
Well, they just won a championship. So for me, I almost disqualified because it's
I know, but
how much better could you get than being a title with the best player in the in the league?
I know,
like,
but you go from Durant, Westbrook, and Harden to this.
Yeah.
That's a nice transition.
Oh, 100%. Like, absolutely. Like, they are going to have a very bright future. But I wanted to look at teams that hadn't won yet, I suppose. I kind of disqualified them from the list. But that's another team that, I mean, again, they've got all these players. They're all under 25. Shai's what, 25, 26 years? Like, he's still very young.
Oh, he's just
and he's got
starting.
Yeah, like he's just starting to get into his prime, right? They got everyone else locked up long term. They gave up a lot of money out this summer, getting everybody under contract. So that's a team that I considered putting in this list, but kind of disqualified them. The Washington Commanders was an interesting team as well, just because of Jane Daniels. But the rest of the roster, I question. But at least having your quarterback and a guy who looks like he can be a franchise quarterback, one who could potentially be a top 5 guy. I think we're going to have Mike Sando on in just under an hour. Has him as the 6th best quarterback in all of football. That's coming off a rookie season, a historic rookie season. If he takes off, that'll be a destination as well. A guy that brings players in. And if they can figure out some issues on defense, it's an aging defense. The offensive line needs some help too. So I couldn't quite put the Commanders in there, but, I mean, Daniels made it a slightly compelling option.
Did you when you thought about the Raptors? Where did you go with that?
Not even remotely close.
Really?
Not even.
I have to be honest.
I didn't even think about the Raptors. To be honest, when I think about bright futures, they are so far removed.
Really? I think it'd be a 5 or 6 seed this year.
That's not that bright. But what do they? I don't look at this team like who's going to be a superstar for this team.
Well, there won't.
Their future's good.
Yeah, their future's
That's it.
good.
They'll be a middling team. All of these teams I could see competing for championships at some point.
Okay. Oh,
the Raptors,
San Jose?
I don't.
Ooh.
I mean, right now, no. Well,
he's got that 2032 futures bet here.
I can't.
But if these guys develop into what they're supposed to be, like right now, the optimism
they're good
is
players.
there with the San Jose Sharks. Like who's the Macklin Celebrini on the Raptors? I don't know. Scotty has proven that he's that guy yet.
I think that the Raptors, to me is it the glass half full or half empty? They could be really good, or this could be the start of something not good. And we'll figure that out over the course of the next year.
I think they got a very low ceiling, the Raptors.
I think you're looking at a 5 or 6 seed. That's not a bad jump from where they are.
Is that great though, Tat?
The East isn't great, but I mean, at least they're not regressing.
Oh, it's pretty hard to regress from what we saw over the last couple of years.
Well,
that's true.
Go to Washington. There's some bad stories in that East,
true.
Where it's an annual thing.
Goes from bad to worse.
Well, and you can't tank because it doesn't matter. I mean, if Dallas is going to win and San Antonio is going to win the draft lottery.
That was another team that was an honorable mention for me. The Dallas Mavericks. I mean, getting a generational talent like Cooper Flagg, that is another kind of big time get for them. That was another honorable mention on this list.
But you went with 2 NHL teams, which is impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we live in Canada.
Yeah, I'm going to argue with you about San Jose. I mean, I like what they have.
Yeah.
I just don't see it turning into any kind of serious run at this point. Montreal, absolutely, I could see that.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, fair enough.
Yeah. We agree to disagree.
Hey.
Coming up next, did I ever do this? By the way, I didn't give the sponsor read, which is kind of a big problem. OverDrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score as we continue on TSN 4, TSN 1050, and live on YouTube.
Now, back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Oh, that's Yes Guy music. Welcome back. OverDrive continues. Jim Taddy, Keegan Matheson, And Al's brother, Mike DeStefano. And on the way back in, the CPKC Women's Open coming to Mississauga Golf and Country Club next week. Here's your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Penalty Box on Friday, August 22nd, a semi-private box located right on the 10th hole. Caller number 10 at 416-870-1050 will win tickets to the event. Your tickets will include access to the suite, food and beverage, and private washrooms. Plus, First Up will be broadcasting live from the Open on August 21st and 22nd, so stop by and say hi if you're out on the course. Get your tickets today at cpkcwomensopen.com. First Up, all over the place, traveling all over the city.
Men about town.
Yes.
Not just King West, baby. They get about town.
They get around. So, a couple of things that we didn't deal with earlier. One is Shohei Ohtani. There's a $240 million real estate deal in Hawaii that went, I don't know if it went south is the right way to say it. There's a project manager removed, and then there's a lawsuit filed against Ohtani and company for some sort of influence on that. And I don't know, I mean, there's the lawsuit, there's the $240 million, and I'm not asking anybody to feel sorry for this guy, but he makes that kind of money. He's that notorious. How do you live a life?
Yeah, and you just don't want your name out there for business anything. It's rarely out there for good business, but bad business or business that's become confrontational.
Well, you'd have to sort of be a silent partner in order to survive, right?
And that's why, guys, the more and more I'm around pro athletes, the more impressed I am by guys who keep their name out of this.
Yeah.
And the example I keep coming back to, this is my Nova Scotian bias, but Sidney Crosby. Right. He's been the biggest name in Canada and one of the biggest in the U.S. in pro sports for 2 decades.
Yeah.
And I barely hear a thing about the guy. Even back home, you barely hear a thing about the guy where everyone's talking about everyone. But when I look at Ohtani being involved in this and his name coming in this, it's not something you like. Now, of course, the lawsuit itself is not for that large of a dollar amount. That's the real estate development. But some of the details about that were interesting. It was being advertised as, Ohtani will have a place here. He'll even spend time here in the off season. It was really selling. You might get to have a beer with Shohei. So there's lots of interesting stuff going on all sides.
Wow, and depending on who put that out, that may be why the person was removed.
Maybe.
Yeah. A little pushing the envelope there. He didn't sign on for that.
Being commodified a bit, yeah.
Who knows?
I just look at it now. This is 2 years in a row where this guy's been involved in some sort of scandal. There was obviously they're two different situations. The Ipe gambling thing was obviously completely separate to this, but does wonder is he surrounding himself with people who have his best interests in mind all the time?
If you put yourself in the guy's shoes, how would you handle that? You're in a different culture, different part of the world. At some point you have to trust somebody.
Yeah. Which
is a hard thing to do when you got that kind of a bankroll behind you because people are deceptive. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
It's got to be the right person at the right time.
Yeah.
And especially when you're involved in as many things. I'd be fascinated to really get down to the real number of how many deals, broadly speaking, Ohtani has. I'm talking clothing companies, food and beverage companies in Japan, where he's not just a star, he's a god. He goes beyond anything we can comprehend here in North America in terms of athletes. Multiply it by 100. The number of deals he must have and the number of people who are involved in all of those deals. If anything along that chain goes wrong, their name's not in the paper because we don't know who Joe Johnson is. We know Ohtani's name, though, if he's tied to it.
Well, look, obviously the pop culture has all kinds of victims, if you will, because they were put in a position that they just didn't know about, and the evolution of it is people are a lot smarter with that now. But and people have made money in professional sports, tons of money, but not like this. This is a new category, isn't it?
This is a new level, and you're seeing it with NBA players as well, with where salaries are going. It's every salary I see is blowing me away. It's new level. The guys in the NHL must be sitting there come on, what are we doing here? But
it's coming.
It's coming.
But it's coming.
But NBA's just had that massive jump, and Major League Baseball is having that massive jump right now, where the term and the money is both there. So
I find it very interesting how this conversation with the the CBA coming to an end and discourse surrounding a potential salary cap in baseball, which would put an end to that. So I'm curious how much the players would actually want that.
It would complicate it.
And I would think probably not a whole lot.
Coming up next, hour number 3, going to move over to TSN 2. We'll have confirm or deny Mike Sando from the NFL will stop by as well. We also continue on TSN 1050 and live on YouTube.
is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Oh, yes, hour number 3, OverDrive on a Tuesday. Coming up very shortly, Confirm or Deny, followed by Mike Sando, athletic senior NFL writer. And, of course, Jim Taddy, Keegan Matheson, MLB.com. Jay's busy with the Cubs tonight at the Ball Yard. And Al's brother, Mike DiStefano, with you to guide you through. Welcome to everybody watching on TSN2. Hello. And what else? We have best bets later on. But in the meantime, to get us to Confirm or Deny, a couple of minutes to burn here. And Keegan is just a football guru. I mean, he's just all over the place with this stuff. We call him a savant, a football savant. Maybe you have some fantasy advice.
Well, I need to do something in my off seasons. You know, there comes this magical day every.
You don't just shut down and go to a
October.
cabin and that's it.
The cabin is my couch, and I've got a few TVs up, and football and fantasy football are my life. Really, in the off season. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Maybe there's $1 on a game or two or all 16 of them. But I love that time of year, guys. It's my favorite time. And it's fantasy football season. And I'm deep into the big keeper leagues. My dynasty league is my baby. But
How many leagues are you in, Keith?
4 right now, and I feel like it's a good balance.
That's my number 2.
4 is the sweet spot.
Getting to 5 gets a little egregious.
Yeah, because
tough
I want to
manage.
give everyone in each of those locker rooms my all.
Yeah.
But when we look at redraft season, the top 5, as we're looking at here right now, number 1, I can't get away from Jamar Chase. I love an elite receiver with a defense that sucks. It's a perfect combination when you have Joe Burrow in there with, who might be the best thrower of the football in the league right now. Number 2, I want Bijan Robinson. I've got the number 2 in one of my big money leagues coming up. I'm probably going Bijan.
Believer in the Bijan breakout, are you?
Absolutely. And it's going to annoy me when Tyler Algier runs 9 times for 36 yards every game, but I'm going to somehow try to get through it. I want Justin Jefferson, number 3. I know that J.J. McCarthy is there, and he might diminish that value, but we said the same thing last year about Sam Darnold coming in. I think Justin Jefferson is pretty quarterback proof in that offense.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be throwing it around enough at that point. This is where I get a little thinner and where I'm arguing with myself. I want to have Jahmyr Gibbs in here, but I also want to have CeeDee Lamb. I think Dak Prescott's going to have a massive year. I think their defense is going to make them throw the ball a ton as well. And having George Pickens on the other side will drag some of that high safety coverage away from him. Could be helpful. So probably having Gibbs in there. But, man, I want to have McCaffrey in here so bad.
McCaffrey?
I was one of the people who drafted McCaffrey 101 last year.
No.
And I tell you, I'm singing for my lunch ever since then. It's been tough. But McCaffrey is my dream to pick at the number 8 pick and then win the league this year. I'm so tempted to take him higher this year because if Christian McCaffrey is healthy,
that's a big if, though.
Yeah, if he's not flying to Germany to seek help with his Achilles injuries, I think he wins everyone their leagues. But for right now, I've got to go Jamar, Bijan Robinson, Justin Jefferson, and then, gritting my teeth, I'll probably go Jahmyr Gibbs.
You're leaving out Saquon Barkley?
Going Jahmyr Gibbs,
2K?
CeeDee Lamb, Saquon. Saquon Barkley's missing games this year.
You have piqued the interest of producer Doogie. Doogie, you want to jump in?
I'd bet $1 million on it.
Keegan, quick question.
Yeah.
What quarterback would you pick number 1?
I think Jaden Daniels is going to get overrated this year and kind of not take a step back, but take a step sideways. And I'm worried about the injury risk with Jaden Daniels, frankly. I think I'm still a Lamar man. Josh Allen's got to be right there, but I think I'm still going to be tempted to be Lamar Jackson. I think he's number 1 in MVP odds again this year, pretty comfortably still on FanDuel. So that's my direction, man. But I want to take McCaffrey, and I'm betting on, I don't think you can bet on this, and it's a good thing, but on Saquon missing games. That workload, man, coming off, when you look at the data of running backs who have carried the ball that many times coming into this year, he's somebody I want to fade. I want to take someone else around him.
Well, I mean, FanDuel has the odds out there for yardage. Could still take his under on the yardage.
That's
so
like a polite way
that's kind of the way to do
bet
it,
on a guy getting
right?
injured.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like, I don't want to bet on him getting hurt, but if he's going to miss 2 or 3 games, there's a good chance he goes under the number, projected number.
That's why I want some Will Shipley shares in my life, maybe. Getting real dirty with it, but I don't think Saquon makes it through all the way healthy.
That's interesting. I don't is there a team you like this year? They think he's going to kind of come out of the woodworks and surprise.
Other than my Green Bay Packers, man, I think the Packers and Jordan Love are going to sling it around. I think Josh Jacobs is going to be more of a traditional, carrying it 14, 16 times a game this year. Jordan Love was hampered by that injury last year, the groin, the hamstring. So I think he is going to sling it around a lot. I think that Jordan Love, could be a top 10 QB this year.
Yeah, injuries always seem to be the issue there. Like even like Christian Watson,
constantly,
like never was playing last year.
Okay, they have 14 receivers now.
When he played, it was awesome, but rarely did he ever suit up for the Packers.
More football talk. The bottom of the hour. Mike Sando, the Athletic senior NFL writer, will stop by. I'm looking at his quarterback tier or pyramid system that he's mapped out. So we'll dive deep into that. In the meantime, it is time for Confirm or Deny.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Austin trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
Well, I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
Yeah, how to sidestep that one. Okay, so confirm or deny number one. Trey Yesavage will crack the bullpen before the end of the regular season.
Confirm. I look at this Yesavage thing, sticking to what we were just talking about in the NFL. It's like when you have that first-round pick quarterback coming behind. He's going to take it.
So tempting.
He's going to take it. Every year you see it in the NFL and they say, he's going to sit. He never sits. Yesavage is the same thing. He's going to be too tempting now that he's in AAA. He's going to be one of the 13 best.
So my question is, who's he competing with right now for like those final bullpen spots, would you say?
Tommy Nance, like that level of the roster for the Blue Jays right now. And even if they're to get Jimmy Garcia back, which I don't really think they're going to do this year, it's that level with, Mason Fluharty. Yes, he just had an incredible outing, but that's not everything. It would be with that level of Tommy Nance, Mason Fluharty right in around there. And as the Blue Jays wrangle with their rotation, they will add a spot September 1. But the upside, the upside is just too tempting. It's hard to look away from.
Yeah, I'm going to confirm it as well. I just think that, he's pitched really, really well, and especially his last few outings in AA was unbelievable. If he can replicate that in AAA, I don't think they have anything but a choice but to give him a look. And if you're going to do that, have him get a few outings at the major league level before you come around to the postseason. I don't think you want to sit there and it's like, all right, let's only give him a couple of games and then make that decision. So I think Trey Yesavage will work his way up to Major League Baseball this year. Whether or not whether he wins like a spot on the playoff rotation, I guess, or the playoff roster remains to be seen, I suppose. But at some point, we'll see him here.
I wanted to deny, but I can't. I mean, this is just a continuation of the story that is the 2025 Blue Jays. Next man up, and boom, decide something. So this would be like the icing on the cake, if you will.
Too much momentum now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Confirm or deny number two. Jimenez will be the Jays' primary second baseman in the playoffs.
Confirm?
Ooh.
In that exact voice?
Yeah.
Confirm? I think.
A squeaky confirmation.
We'll see about against lefties, but against righties, you have Ernie Clement probably at third base. Addison Barger can play some right field. But the offensive bar isn't high for Andres Jimenez. If he's hitting 250, stealing the odd base, 600 OPS, that's, who they're going to tolerate probably in this lineup. And the defense is so good. Probably matters the pitcher the Blue Jays have in the mound, too. If he's a ground ball guy, Jimenez has to be.
Jimenez.
Yeah. He is maybe the best defender, period, in Major League Baseball. But it's a confirm that I say through gritted teeth right now. We'll see.
I'm going to deny it. Like, primary second baseman to me would mean that it's not a platoon. So if that's the case, is he an everyday guy for me? Not at this point, because I think you're going to want to have Clement in there every single day. I think Davis Schneider will probably, have an opportunity maybe to get in there. I'm just, we haven't seen him like in a very long time, and he had that great 6 games to start the year, and then his bat went bone-chilling cold.
Wow.
Yeah, not really. That was very long ago. So I don't know. I don't see him being an everyday guy, so I'm going to deny it.
Yeah, I'm going to deny it too. Primary is the word that sort of puts that in a different category. So he's going to play a lot. He's going to be important, but I don't. That's a platoon or some sort of in and out situation, depending on, as you mentioned, the game situation.
Yeah,
and who's pitching. And
certainly a guy that you're going to want to come off the bench defensively late in the game.
Yeah.
You're holding it to a 3-2 lead, and in the 8th inning, you throw him out there, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, number 3, confirm or deny. Vladdy has been the team's MVP leading up to this point of the season.
Confirm. And it's not overwhelming, but I think confirm. Alejandro Kirk is right in there.
Yeah.
Bo Bichette has to be in there. Bo could be on track to one of his most valuable seasons, maybe the most valuable yet. And then I'm always the one to really focus on the V, like the valuable definition. And I think Eric Lauer needs that like down ballot courtesy vote.
Really?
Because without Eric Lauer, imagine what that spot would have turned into.
Yeah.
It would have been a revolving door mess, which would have bled into the bullpen. John Schneider's life would be more difficult. It would be affecting that roster churn over and over. It's like Ross Stripling a few years ago. He's just simplified people's lives. So I think I go with Laddie, Kirk, Bo Bichette, and can't leave Eric Lauer off the ballot.
I am going to deny it because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the last month has been great, and he's heating up and he's getting back to being his MVP self. So like post All-Star break for sure. But when I look at the full season, the one guy who's been Mr. Consistent has been Alejandro Kirk. And he doesn't just do it on the offensive side of things. He doesn't just do it on the defensive side. We're talking about a guy who's in like the 100th percentile among defensive catchers in baseball as well. One of the best defensive catchers. The guy can swing and he can hit. He protects the play. He doesn't strike out. But he also is an amazing pitch framer. And we noticed when he was out in that little stretch that the pitching kind of went awry a little bit. And I can't help but feel like that had something to do with the fact that it was Tyler Heineman behind the plate and Axel Sanchez behind the plate as opposed to Alejandro Kirk. So for me, because Kirk, the catcher is one of the more important positions in all of baseball, and the fact that he's doing it offensively, defensively, he's improving and helping with the pitching with an unbelievable framing. He's throwing guys out. His caught stealing rate is extremely high. I'm going to go with Al Kirk, honestly, as this team's MVP.
I hate to go against the baseball expert, and I like what you said, but I don't think there is an MVP. I'm just
really?
I just think that it's an ensemble cast, and at various times it's one guy, it's another guy, and I like that.
No,
I don't need it to be an MVP.
Yeah, it is a good point. Like it really has been. It's been a big committee season. Like it's not as though it was a couple of years ago when Aaron Judge was hitting homers. It was like that guy's carrying this team.
Yeah.
Like even this year, like Aaron Judge is carrying that team. When he's out, he's not hitting homers. They're not winning a lot of ball games, right? So this has been a very strange season in Toronto where it's just been a plethora of depth, whether it's a star guy, a role guy, a bench guy, someone coming up through the minors. Does seem like each and every night someone else is a story. So you could make that argument that just there's not one sole guy who has been the most valuable player. It's been a plethora of people.
Yeah, and it could turn out in the playoffs that Vladdy or somebody else does lead the way. Nobody would complain about that. But going by the question, I'm going to go no. I'm going to say no guy. I'm going to deny. Sorry. Confirm or deny? Aaron Judge is still the MVP in the American League over Raleigh.
This is the hardest one on the list for me. I think it's still a confirm because I think the next 6-7 weeks, I think Aaron Judge will heat back up. And when I look at every offensive category, he is blowing the rest of the sport out of the water. An 1131 OPS. I know that he doesn't have Raleigh's home run totals. And I know that there is the combination of the Cal Raleigh coverage, which is similar to Judge's year when he hit 62. Big dumper. Everyone loves him. And I think there is also some Aaron Judge exhaustion as well. You run into that.
Sure.
The bar is higher. This guy, he's got to do something bigger and better. Well, average Aaron Judge is still probably the MVP of baseball. So I love what Cal Raleigh's doing. I wish they could give out 2. I think in 6 or 7 weeks, it's going to be Judge again with his, goodness, 3rd in 5 years, which is just some all-time stuff.
Man, he's doing it again right now, Cal Raleigh. He's heating up. He's got home runs in 3 straight games right now for Cal Raleigh. He's up to 45, which I believe the record for catchers is 48. That was Sal Perez in 2021.
go.
He's 3 off from breaking that record. I think he's definitely encroaching on Ken Griffey Jr.'s home run record in Seattle. I'm going to deny it. I think if Cal Raleigh continues to hit the way that he is, if he gets close to that Aaron Judge home run record of 63, 60, how many home runs he hit that year? 62 that he hit that season. If he encroaches and gets close to 60, I think that Cal Raleigh has an opportunity to win the MVP. Plus, like we talked about with Kirk, to be doing this as a catcher is unprecedented.
Yep.
And to be doing it, from a defensive perspective with the bat, and then also, to be able to actually play this many games and have this many at-bats while being able to crouch down every day, that's tough to do. So I'm going to deny it and go Cal Raleigh MVP.
Well, the wording is still, so I'm going to side with our baseball guy and say I'm going to confirm it. So sometimes you have to, really scalpel the wording. Confirm or deny, and I believe we're on number 5. The Vegas Golden Knights have been the winners of the offseason in the National Hockey League.
I think confirmed they got the big fish.
Yeah.
There may be more complete off seasons, but I'm always the whoever gets the best player wins in a trade type of guy, and whoever gets the big fish in the off season. I mean, I can see it happening. The Mitch Marner talk's not going away, and he'll have that big playoff run.
Clearly, he's not unliked here.
He'll be fighting in the corners. He'll have real sweat in his hair this time, baby. The narratives are already writing themselves.
Yeah, here's the one thing, and it was obviously reported a while ago, and I think maybe people have forgotten, but I'm not sure Alex Pietrangelo is going to be playing this season.
No.
Wasn't he?
No, he's gone for
out.
the year.
So, you bring in Mitch Marner, but you lose a massive piece to the back end there, and they didn't necessarily replace it. I'm gonna deny it. I think there's a couple other teams that did well. I think Carolina getting themselves Nick Ehlers, that's gonna help them. I think, although the Islanders are not gonna be a successful team, I love the summer that they had. I think bringing in Matthew Darsh as a general manager, making that Noah Dobson trade that really worked out for them. Bringing in Matthew Schaefer, I like what the Islanders have done, but I don't know. The Golden Knights, I'm going to deny it.
I'm going to deny it, too. The Florida Panthers re-signing pretty well everybody.
Yeah, there's that one.
The winner for me.
There's the winner. That's the winner.
The trifecta.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the same names, it doesn't stand out as much, but that's a
well, and everybody knows the fit. Everybody knows they know how to play 82 games and then crank it up. So I'd have a rough time going any place other than Florida Panthers. Confirm or deny, the Ottawa Senators will make at least the second round next season.
Ooh. How mad do I want the good people of Ottawa to be at me? I'm going to go deny. What were they at, 45 wins last year before they ran into the Leafs?
Yeah, they won a wild card spot.
Yeah, that's tough because they're probably still looking at running into a buzzsaw in the first round. You need to get yourself beyond the big dogs like that. I'm going to go deny.
I'm going to deny it too. I think they could sneak into the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I like the team, but I still think that there's some quality teams out there in the East. I still look at the big 3, Toronto, Florida, Tampa, in the Atlantic Division that they're going to have to get over. I don't think they're there yet. I think they're getting closer. Toronto's probably inching back toward the pack, and they're moving up, but not quite yet. So I'm going to deny it.
Just out of fairness, I'm going to confirm it. And I base it on – the only thing I'm going to base it on is I like their program. Somebody at the top's going to fall. I mean, we keep waiting for somebody to have the. I don't know. Maybe is it Tampa? Is it the Leafs? I don't know. I mean, come on. The Leafs are a big question mark.
Oh, for sure, they're a question
mark. Big question mark.
Yeah, absolutely they are. But I still think that they got a pretty good. I mean, the goaltending, they solidified that last year. The blue line from the blue line back, everything's good. Marner leaving is obviously a question mark. But what they've done is they've insulated that with a lot better depth, and they have really altered to play more the Berube way.
It's a regular season playoff question mark, not a regular season question mark.
Which is exactly
that's where we're going with this.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Ottawa's on the way up. So is Montreal. So somebody's going to pay for that. I don't know who it is. Somebody will pay.
Well, I think it's the other division. I think the Metro probably not going to end up winning any wild card spots, just like a year ago.
And since we're on the question mark that is the Toronto Maple Leafs, confirm or deny, Easton Cowan has the edge over Nick Robertson on the Maple Leafs depth chart?
Like at a camp, like day one, opening night?
We're asking the question now, so I don't know how. I mean, I can't move off where we are.
I think I'm a day one deny, but I need to be a confirm because I'm thinking the whole season.
Right. So
whole season confirm.
Like Easton Cowan has a better future with the Leafs, obviously. Eventually, I think he'll overtake him, but I'm going to deny it right now.
Yeah.
They just paid Nick Robertson $1.8 million to be on this team, and Easton Cowan has yet to play a game in the NHL. So I can't put him ahead of him quite yet.
I just don't see it happening.
There you go.
Yeah. The echo chamber. Where are you on this?
If we have it right now, again, I want to stick to the legal language here. Has the edge, deny.
Yeah.
I think by the middle of the season, we're talking about a much different situation here with Cowan. But has the edge going into the season? And we know the Leafs roster could change leading up to the opening of the season, through the season. But by the middle of the year, I think it's different. Deny for now.
Yeah, I would deny it too. And, you know, the trade season that was supposed to be all over the summer has never really happened.
Right.
The arbitration season, the RFAs was supposed to spur something. That didn't happen.
None of them got to arbitration.
No.
Every single one of them ended up coming up with a deal. Robertson was last. They took it right to the final day, but they got a deal hammered out. And
it's a lot of teams with money to spend, which nobody really predicted. Confirm or deny, back to football, because Mike Sando will be with us in about 9 minutes from now, going over his quarterback ranking. James Cook will play for the Bills by week 1 of the season.
Confirm. These things take care of themselves. I think confirm, especially with Kyron Williams' deal getting hammered out lately. You can build up from there. I think confirm.
Yeah, I'm going to confirm it as well. Look, unfortunately, he's not. So it was 2 years ago, I think we saw a similar situation. Chris Jones wanted a new extension with the Chiefs, and he actually did sit out a game. And they lost the season opener to the Detroit Lions. The very next day, a contract was handed to Chris Jones that basically said, please come back, blank check, we need you. I don't think that James Cook is in the same situation. They believe that their running back, their number 2, Ray Davis, who they took last year in the draft and had a decent rookie season. They clearly like what's going on in camp. I think that they look at that and say, we don't necessarily need to pay James Cook like a top running back. They don't believe he deserves to be paid like a top running back. But he also cannot afford to not play himself. Yep. So I think that he's already come back to practice today. I think eventually, come week 1, he'll be ready. He'll be in the lineup ready to go.
I would confirm it as well. And let's go back to, we played this in a previous hour. Josh Allen and Coach McDermott, both very positive about James Cook.
Oh, I mean, it's been extremely normal between us. Not going to ask him to do anything that he doesn't want to do or wouldn't do, or I wouldn't do myself. So I understand that, you know, in his mind, it was the right thing to do, and I trust him. But yeah, very happy to have him back out there today.
When you say expected, have you had conversations with him that lead you to think he's practicing today? Like, has anything changed?
I would say so. I would say so that things have changed, Elena, with, and yes, we've had conversations with James, good conversations, as I've mentioned before. And the information that we're getting is that he is moving in the direction of practicing.
Yeah. So everybody's on side there. That's a complete confirm.
I do find it funny how he didn't explicitly come out and say, yeah, James is practicing. And I think that's maybe scar tissue from Saturday. They had conversations about him suiting up for the preseason game, which James Cook did, and then elected to actually not play. And McDermott afterwards had some words on that, so I think that was a little scar tissue. Not wanting to exactly say that he was going to come back just in case.
And not wanting to reopen the wound.
Yeah, exactly.
So our final confirm or deny, Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback every single week for the Steelers.
Is this a health question or a skill question?
These are the words. Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback every week for the Steelers.
I'm going confirm. I don't think it'll be pretty. And I think there will be, like his Green Bay days, just a bunch of close-ups of him sighing and shrugging his shoulders.
Or with the look.
It's all very exhausting with him.
The look
but
to his
Aaron
players.
Rodgers is too addicted to being the main character to miss a game. I don't care if his leg's broken. It's not toughness. It's an addiction to being the main character. He will not miss a game. I do like Will Howard, who they drafted, I think, in the 4th round, but it's the Rodgers year and probably another Steelers, Mike Tomlin-esque 9-8 sneak in sort of deal.
Yeah, Will Howard, Mason Rudolph. I don't think they were anticipating them to compete this year for the starting job. It's Aaron Rodgers' job. An injury would be the only way that he wouldn't play every week for the Steelers. I would push back. I think that the Steelers are still going to be a good competitive team. I think they're still going to make the playoffs. And I think Aaron Rodgers still has some good quarterback play in him. You get him behind an offensive line. I mean, that O-line in New York was hideous the last couple of years while he was there. So you get him in a good line. They got a good defense, a great coach in Mike Tomlin. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will be okay. And yeah, Rodgers will make it to Week 18.
Hate to go against the grain. I'm going to deny it. I just think something's going to happen.
Well,
something.
Not a big fan of Aaron Rodgers.
It's like and you're not telling you. He's got a plan here.
Oh, yeah. Well, come on. There's a groin pull. There's a hammy injury. There's something. Young. Yeah. Bottom line on that. Coming up next, more football talk. Mike Sando will stop by, Athletics senior NFL writer. He has tiered the quarterbacks in the NFL, so we'll explore how he went about doing that and maybe some things that he had to struggle with to get everybody into a category. This is OverDrive, TSN 2, TSN 1050, and live on YouTube.
the script for the hell of it. Addicted to betrayal, but you're relevant.
OverDrive, Jim Taddy, Keegan Matheson, MLB.com, and AB, Al's brother, Mike DiStefano with you. Shortly, Mike Sando from The Athletic will stop by and go over his quarterback pyramid or tiers. He's got it topped by Mahomes and Burrow in a tie. Allen, Jackson, and Stafford round out the top tiering. You're looking at people that have improved a lot. Sam Darnold went up by 9 spots or plus 9 points, and Kirk Cousins dropped by minus 12, Rodgers minus 9 in a year's time.
So he might not be big on Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers either.
Hey,
might have to throw
party.
that one at him.
And Taddy, you scared me for a second because when you were listing the names, I was looking at my notes here quickly, and all I heard were the words Allen Jackson. And I'm thinking, what are we talking about here? Is this an old country segment? But that perked me right back up here. But I think I'm in line with him on Rodgers. I don't know if I'd have Rodgers lower. That 10 to 20 range is so crowded. When you get into the QBs like Dak Prescott, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith's indicative of them. It's tough.
For me, it's like there's a core 4. Just like here in Toronto for years. There's a core 4 that I think everyone has an agreement on. There's some variance within the core 4.
Yeah.
But, like, you talk to anybody who watches the NFL, they're going to tell you, who the 4 best players, 4 best quarterbacks. It's Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar. Like, I don't think anyone else really has a seat at the table of that core 4. But after that, I do think that there is a lot of conversations to be had. Like, is Justin Herbert that next guy? Is it Matthew Stafford? What Jane Daniels did last year was unbelievable, but are you sold after one season? Like, I remember having conversations with people back in, what have been 2016, 2017. People are ready to call Carson Wentz the top quarterback in the NFL at the time. And I'm like, this guy has been good for like 1 year, 2 years. Let's pump the brakes. And obviously, Carson Wentz's career went way southward after that. Injuries played a factor, but Jaden Daniels, for me, I'm not ready to crown him as like a top. I think Sando has him at 6 right now. The top of the second tier. I feel like for me, I'm not ready to go there yet. I think it's a tad premature, but not my list.
Well, let's bring in Mike now. Mike Sando's here, the Athletic senior NFL writer. Mike, welcome. How are you? Bit of an audio problem there.
Oh, might not have him here.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get him. Get him hooked up here in a second.
JP, okay, we'll do it again. Mike, welcome.
Yeah, I can hear you guys loud and clear. Do you hear me?
We can hear you now. Okay, so we're
thanks for having me.
Our pleasure to have you, and we're obviously fascinated by your quarterback tier. And so I guess maybe the no-brainer first question is when you're dealing with Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and Jackson, top 4 in that order. How do you separate these guys?
Well, I don't have to do it, fortunately, because I poll the 50 guys in the league. And so really, for me, talking to 6 GMs, 6 assistant GMs, 6 former GMs, I think I had 8 head coaches, 15 coordinators, some other folks, really all I'm doing is tabulating their results. And so in this case, I think Burrow and Mahomes were unanimous tier 1 because they're perceived to be probably the best, just purest passers of the top quarterbacks in the league. And I think there's still a bias towards towards the passing component, right? That's what you really have to have in the end to survive and advance and be a dominant tier 1 player. And so Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson are really good passers, but probably rely a little bit more on their legs. And so I think there's a couple voters, just a few here or there, like 3 put Josh Allen in tier 2, and Lamar, I had 4 put him in tier 2. Those are outliers. I think those 4 quarterbacks are clearly, the best. And you probably give an edge to Mahomes just on his pedigree and what he's been able to do consistently, even though statistically he hasn't been as good lately.
Yeah, and I've been talking about that for a little bit. The offense has not been nearly as explosive. They've been middle of the pack in terms of yardage over the last couple of years. Like, when you look at what you think the Chiefs could potentially do this season, do you expect much of the same, or do you think there could be something in the works where maybe this offense becomes a little more entertaining this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that it's going to. I think we've been waiting on that for a while. So, Travis Kelce's a year older. The receiving core is somewhat similar. They get Rashee Rice back probably, so that will help them. But I don't think it's going to be super dynamic. I think if they would have had answers to make it look easier, they would have done it. And so, they went 11-0 in one-score games last year. They had a streak, I think, over multiple seasons of 17 straight wins in games decided by a touchdown or less. They're uniquely set up to do that. Patrick Mahomes, the head coach in Andy Reid, they're a well-oiled machine, but that's a smaller margin for error, and it's just hard to keep doing that forever. I think there is an opening for another team in the AFC. Those guys just have to do it.
Mike, as you walked through this entire process, speaking to your people in the league, going through your story, I was so interested by some of the comments. Matthew Stafford was one that I liked hearing the league's comments on, and some of those being tied to McVay, of course. But which quarterbacks really surprised you in terms of higher on some, lower on some, compared to what the public might think?
Yeah. So there's a few, like, Matthew Stafford being in tier 1, I might not have anticipated that, but he was very high tier 2. So maybe it's just I had a slightly different voting panel this year, and maybe you just got a few more votes there. I thought Goff might drop, even though he's been great. I think, just Ben Johnson being so acclaimed as an offensive coordinator and leaving, I wondered if people would hold that against him or predict, that he might slip. That did not happen. I think, the feedback on Caleb Williams was interesting to me, mostly kind of negative. Now, maybe that's somewhat because he was the number 1 pick in the draft and was in 2024 and was seen as, a consensus pick. And so maybe he's held to a higher standard. But I thought there was just a lot of people questioning his ability to process the game quickly. That was a little concerning. I think one of the coaches used the word alarming. So you normally wouldn't hear that out of a first season like this, and that kind of stuck with me.
So you've got Daniels at number 6. So I'm intrigued at what happens when you go into another category. What were they saying about Daniels, and how close would he be to moving up?
So Daniels got 17 votes in tier 1, and look, if this was his second year of doing what he did, he probably would be, solidly in tier 1. People do want to see more than 1 year. I think there's a feeling that we've seen some quarterbacks come in. Just last year, C.J. Stroud, I think, got 12 tier 1 votes after his rookie year. He only got 1 this year. You go back maybe 4 years, Justin Herbert was one of the, I think at that time, was the highest ever anyone had debuted as a second-year quarterback in quarterback tiers. And he hasn't fallen off the map, but he's, he didn't maintain it and push up into tier 1. So I think it's just a little bit more over time. Jaden Daniels, though, is high because not only was he good as a rookie, but he did it in the playoffs, had him in the championship game. And by the way, he did it on a team that not only didn't have a top 10 defense, but had a bottom 10 defense statistically. So there's a lot to like with him after his rookie year.
A name that I find really interesting going into the season, and it's Baker Mayfield, who you had ranked at number 11. But there seems to be a lot of discourse surrounding Jared Goff and the Lions and how they're going to take a step back with losing Ben Johnson. Not as much about the Bucs losing Liam Cohen, who's now in Jacksonville. What's your expectations on what Baker and that offense will be able to do without Cohen?
I know. Do we just assume because Baker Mayfield, did well with Dave Canales when Dave Canales was really not known, and then did well with Liam Cohen, who also, like Canales, had never been a primary play caller in the NFL, that it's going to happen again with their next unproven offensive coordinator under a defensive-minded head coach? I mean, you may be onto something there that they could fall off some offensively. It might be hard. It'll be hard for them to get better on third down. They were almost historically great in that component of it. But I think at a certain point, too, you have to give Baker Mayfield some credit, which the voters have, for transcending multiple coordinators and really reviving his career.
Mike, when you look down the list there as well, Jalen Hurts is grabbing my attention in Tier 2. And if I'm remembering right in your full story, did you have one GM put him as Tier 3? Is that right?
Yeah, so Jalen Hurts got 12 votes in Tier 3. Isn't that something? Super Bowl MVP.
Amazing.
I think the voters had a hard time with him, and they even said they like him, but so a few guys almost apologized for having him so low because they do like him. They just don't feel like, like for instance, last year the Eagles were at their best taking the ball out of his hands and having it be a running game, with Saquon Barkley. And I think there's a feeling with Hurts that while he's improved as a passer, he's never really been asked to be a high volume passer. And there's some doubt over whether that would look very good if he did that. Early last year, he did, have some games with 30-plus pass attempts. It didn't look as good. And so there's a feeling that, unlike some of those guys ahead of him, he might struggle if they put more on his shoulders from a passing standpoint. I think that's what holds him back from, pushing into the top tier as a Super Bowl champion.
And while we're on intriguing names, Aaron Rodgers, Hall of Fame career, no question about that, but some, I guess, trouble or injury problem and bad teams lately. What are people saying about him?
Oh my gosh, he got votes in 4 different tiers. Can you believe that?
Actually, I can.
He got one tier 1 vote. I think it was from a defensive coordinator who probably has scars from facing him over the years, And then you got 16 in tier 2. Those are the optimists saying, hey, he'll be better the second year back from his injury, right? That he'll be a little bit better. That's 16. 27 in tier 3 and 6 in tier 4. Those people are kind of saying, hey, look, he may be healthier this year, but he's 41. He showed up in June. He doesn't have familiar receivers, and he doesn't have a familiar offensive coordinator. So there's a lot of ways that this could, not be prolific. Now, I think most of the votes were in tier 3, and you can win with a tier 3 quarterback. You just have to have a good defense, which Pittsburgh usually does, and you have to just not ask him to put it on his back too often. And so from a Steelers standpoint, a lot of people have kind of, brushed off, hey, they're not that good of a team and Rodgers is done, but he's better than what they've had, I think. And so if they can play defense and run the ball and just ask him to win a game occasionally, that could be a formula for a pretty good season.
Every year there seems to be one team that is like the sexy pick for they're going to have a monster season. It feels like everyone's kind of raving about the Denver Broncos. Are you jumping on that bandwagon, or is there another team that you like that's not getting a lot of notoriety?
No, I feel that too. I feel like, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but, all of those close game wins by Kansas City, 11-0 in 1-score games. I mean, history has shown us that, there's regression in that regard. So I think there's a path for Denver to, win 11, 12 games and win the division. I do think there's a path for that. Now, we'll believe it when we see it, but that's feasible to me.
Mike, looking into the future here, let's do the crystal ball 1 year from now. I'm looking at Caleb Williams, where he is at 23 in that 4th tier. Next year, number 1 overall pick, Cam Ward, coming up. It looks like he has some early chemistry there with Calvin Ridley, going well with the Titans. What do you think you're talking about a year from now with Cam Ward?
Yeah, I would imagine he'll be in tier 3 as just somebody who, maybe it's just a part of a snapshot, hopefully moving up ahead of that. I know some evaluators who think he's not going to be much more than that long term, that he could be solid but not spectacular. So I don't think there's enough information. I'm not a big draft Nick. I think it's harder to project from college. And so once we see him a little bit this year, I think we'll have a much firmer view of what the tiers are going to look like. Tennessee is a good and bad place for him. It's good because it's not New York. It's a place where you can actually go and focus on football, unlike these guys have gotten chewed up and by being on the Jets like Sam Darnold or Geno Smith years ago. But also, I don't think that it's a team that's really ready to win and support him, as much as you might want to support a rookie. So there'll be some bumps there. I'm just most interested in seeing, the poise, the maturity, how he handles it, and if he can avoid some of the big mistakes that really hurt Will Levis.
You compile this list on a yearly basis, so you have a lot of conversations with people. Was there anything here that surprised you, or did it sort of follow the road that you thought?
Yeah, I would say, some of the feedback on Caleb Williams was a little bit surprising. I thought there would be people maybe doubting Goff without Ben Johnson. Let's see if these other guys in here. It just sort of dawned on me with Trevor Lawrence that, no one's really holding out hope for him to be, much more than maybe a low tier 2 player. Like what are his elite traits, right? And that kind of stuck with me as something that, oh yeah, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it kind of makes sense. What's he going to really hang his hat on?
Well, I think for him, it's almost like you bring in Liam Cohen, you draft Travis Hunter. I thought there'd be a little bit more upside. People think like, okay, maybe Lawrence has something around him now. Perhaps this could be the year that the Jags do something in not a great AFC South.
Yeah, and that's totally feasible. I think people just aren't that excited about him because he's not consistently accurate. I think that's been one of the most disappointing things about him. He sprays the ball a little bit more than people would like, and I think it's hard to be consistent when you're not consistently accurate. Now, they can do more to help him, I think for sure. I think the offensive coaching was a little disappointing the last few years too. So we could see a little bump from him. But when I look at the top of tier 3, I see Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa, Kyler Murray, all super highly paid guys by the teams that drafted him without the results. And I thought a year ago that one of those 3 might make the jump, and be a tier 2 guy. And here they are again.
Mike, thanks for your time. And by the way, great library behind you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. Mike Sando, the Athletic senior NFL writer. I mean, that's a nice assignment to crank out a list like that on a regular basis, not just because of the list, but because of who you talk to.
Exactly, because of who you're talking to. It's people who are in the game and understand the game. And I love lists like this because it's not an aggregated list of everything else.
Right.
You see that especially around fantasy football season. Here's my top 100. Well, most of these are an aggregation or a re-aggregation of everything else. These conversations, when you're talking to people in the league, really expose what's going on beyond the buzz. You see that with Caleb Williams. You see that with Trevor Lawrence, some of these names that are high up. Matt Stafford, that one surprises me, being at number 5. But it really tells you what's actually happening in the league.
Yeah, I don't feel good being a Colts fan. He's got Daniel Jones at 30 and Anthony Richardson at 32. It's not going to be a fun year.
Who else has 2 top 32 quarterbacks?
Yeah. Depends how you spin it, right?
Sure. 2 top 30s, 0 top 39s, though.
OverDrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Best Bets is next. OverDrive, TSN 2, TSN 1050, and live on YouTube.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Oh, yes, guy. The final segment. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Doogie, what do you have?
All right, boys, rocking house at the Rogers Center tonight with the Jays and the Cubs. We're going with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to record a hit. He has 16 extra base hits in his last 22 games. And we're going on the Cubs side with Pete Crow Armstrong, fifth in the lineup tonight, second on the team in RBI with 78. He'll get a hit tonight. And the Blue Jays on the money line, returning home from a raucous road trip, winning in LA, bringing it back home to Toronto. I'm expecting some nice momentum. That parlay plays plus 231 on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19 plus, and physically located in Ontario.
Well, thanks, Doogie. About 45 seconds left. Is there anybody who gets in the Brewers' way?
Oh, at this point, no. They need to. They look like the Jays looked a month ago when they couldn't lose. So of course, momentum runs out. But if the postseason started today, and thank God for all of us, it doesn't. The Brewers are running away with it. They are playing baseball like I haven't seen in years.
Peaking too early is always a possibility, and that could be the situation with the Brewers. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll
Quick thought on tonight's game.
You know what? I think this weekend in LA was kind of that speed wobble you need to get you back straight on. I think they take 2 or 3 from the Cubs, 2 or 3 from the Rangers. I think this is a good homestand they've got coming up.
I like it.
Well, thanks to everybody for stopping by. Hazy B back in the chair tomorrow. Enjoy your night.
flag is waving for NASCAR on TSN. With every race,
it doesn't get any better than this.
All the way to the championship. And go full throttle with TSN Plus for more NASCAR to watch practice and qualifying sessions. Unbelievable! TSN takes pole position for your NASCAR coverage.
It has it all. They're all here because this place is the show.
Subscribe now.
We're going to do whatever we can to bring in Lombardi to Western New York.
Resilient, tough, that is Buffalo to a core, baby.
Canada chases the ultimate prize in women's rugby.
Get you some of this.
Women's Rugby World Cup. Every match, every moment, only on TSN.
It was bizarre, it was strange, it was wacky.